Welcome to the Town of Southampton Board of Selectmen's meeting for October 17, 2017 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and televised. We will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, first of all, thank everyone for attending. Our first agenda item is a hearing relative to a dog complaint that is posted for 6 o'clock. Be it 6 o'clock, let's do the hearing unless the board feels otherwise. Okay. We had a complaint of a dog, and I will read the complaint as best I can. The complainant was Kathleen Johnson, 10 Friar Road, Southampton. The owner's an Anthony LeBlanc, 3 Friar Road, Southampton. The dog's name is Layla. The complainant stated that the dog is vicious disposition. I was at the bus stop with my grandson on September 25th of this year at about 8:10 a.m. I ride a scooter because of my mobility is compromised. All of a sudden, I heard a dog barking and growling. I turned, and the dog lunged at me and grabbed my pants. There was no injury at that time. I yelled to the neighbor to call police. The dog was pacing in the road. I was fearful if I attempted to go down the road, the dog would come after me. A gentleman was staying with me until the police got there. However, owner came home. I told him his dog came after me and I had called the police. He got his dog and put him in the house. This is not the first time this dog has gone after people on Friar Road. There are children going to catch the bus and coming home from school. I'm afraid that this is going to happen again. This day had an elderly man on the ground before. This dog had an elderly man on the ground before. This dog is sometimes tied outside. He attempts to lunge at you when you pass his house. I am always afraid the dog can get loose. This is going to be a quasi-judicial hearing, in that I need to take and see if the parties are here first. Is Kathleen Johnson, our representative, here? I'm here. You're here, Kathleen. Anthony LeBlanc, you're here. Would both of you stand, raise your right hands. You solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Kathleen, I'd like you to take the podium first. Do you have anything you wish to add to this complaint?
No, it's just that, I'm not picking on the dog. It's just that I'm afraid because I've seen him go after people before, okay? He went after my sister-in-law when she was walking down with the dogs one time, but this was about 1.5 years ago. And when he did all that, when he knocked down the elderly gentleman and everything, the dog was removed for a while, and then the dog came back. I don't know when it came back, a few months ago. And I would go down with my grandson, or I'd go riding with my granddaughters on the scooter, and if he was tied out, he would start barking and lunging. And my fear was that he could get off the leash. And this time, I was just reading a newspaper with the kids, and I had long pants on. Thank heavens he went after me, or she went after me, because the boys had shorts on. So when she went after me, she just grabbed my pants, and I turned around and I went like this with the paper, and she took off. But she I wouldn't go back to my house. I was afraid to go back to my house because the dog was loose. So I just want to make sure that I can go up and down my street and feel that it's safe. That's all I want. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I just want to be safe.
Can you describe the dog for us?
It's a brown dog. I think it's a mix. I don't know, maybe about this tall. I'm not sure how big it is. But, you know, he is loud, and he does lunge when he's on the leash. Like today, Tony, I started up with, and I have a dog, and I don't always bring the dog with me, but the kids were already up there, and I saw the dog, so I said, I'm not going up because I have my dog. I'm not gonna get the dog angry by bringing my dog. I mean, I'm not trying to cause trouble. So I backed down. He put the dog back in the house, and when he put the dog back in the house, and then I went up. So all I want to do is make sure that my grandkids and people are safe on the road. That's it. Okay?
Does the board have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
Very good. Yourself?
Not too bad.
Could you sort of explain to us what has occurred to your knowledge?
Exactly what you stated. I brought my 10-year-old daughter to the bus stop. I came home, and my door was open to my house, and my dog was, outside. At this point, she was sitting on the steps. But I know the dog, she is, she's very awesome with kids. I know that for a fact. I have a 2-year-old, I have a 4-year-old, and I have a 10-year-old, She's very awesome with kids. I don't know what it is, like she doesn't like, fast movements. She's a little skittish. I do agree with that. The dog did get out that day that is mentioned, and she did. I'm not going to say that she didn't approach her because, the dog has done that. I've gotten, one of my buddies to foster the dog for me, and he recently moved, and he couldn't keep the dog any longer. So I took the dog, back until he resides in another place where he could keep the dog. So I'm not disagreeing with what happened, okay? I mean, I'll take total blame or fault for my dog's actions. I do try to the best of my ability to keep the dog tied up. Unfortunately, at the time of this event, the dog had gotten out of the house on her own. Like I said, the dog today was tied up, secure, and I seen her, going to get her grandchildren off of the bus, and I seen that she wasn't coming up, but she felt uncomfortable that the dog was out. I unleashed the dog and brought the dog into the house, and all I can say is I will do, the best of my ability to keep the dog, chained up and secure to the best of my ability. I totally do apologize for, the date that the dog did get out of the house, and I apologize for that. And if there's anything, anything that I could do to make it right, I will. And all I could really say is I will continue to keep the dog tied up to the best of my ability.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
I guess, my question is, I was looking at the report, and it seems like in May 15th and June 9th, there was also incidents with the dog. The dog bit somebody else, Mr. Petruno?
Mr. Who?
Petruno?
The dog, like as stated, the dog, has gotten out before, and she doesn't like, fast movements. The night that you're speaking about, it was a dark night, and we were sitting on our steps as, you know, the guy came running by the house, and the dog, you know, she did step off of the property and, you know, approached the gentleman.
It said biting him on his left middle finger on his left leg below his kneecap.
And that was when the dog
Yeah.
was transferred from my house to somebody that could foster the dog. And then the guy was moving. So that's when I took the dog back until he gets a place until I could find somewhere for the dog to reside.
But it also says on June 9th, when Layla was being walked down the street without a leash by Shauna Reel, the dog went running towards Mr. Potenza in a violent manner, barking, growling, and attempted to bite him. It sounds like the dog's pretty aggressive. So I guess I'd ask what's your plan going forward, because to me, this is a lawsuit waiting to happen for you. You got 3 people in a short time that went after.
We also have an outstanding ticket that was issued to you for a dog being loose.
A $20 ticket that I didn't, I didn't pay. I could pay it today,
Did you get the ticket?
Huh?
Did you receive the
No, I
ticket?
didn't get the ticket, but
Well, here's a copy of it. I suggest you go to the town clerk and deal with that. I would suggest you see the town clerk and deal with that.
yeah,
The other part to this is the dog licensed?
dog is licensed, yes, sir.
It says the dog's licensed, but it's licensed at a different address. I just read that.
Yeah, I checked with the town clerk today, and she said it was licensed.
It is licensed.
But I didn't check the address.
Yeah, it's at the other address where I believe he said he was
Talked to
fostering
us after.
it.
The town clerk had called me this week, and due to some kind of misunderstanding, you guys had the dog license under 8 Madison Ave in Southampton, which would be my fiance's mother's house.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the dog's never resided there, I never resided there, and she called and I cleared that up with her.
Where
so.
does she live?
She lives at 8 Madison Ave in Southampton.
This says the dog registration lists 262 County Road.
Okay, well, 262 County Road is an adjacent property to 3 Friar Road. Both properties are, it's
They're
one
by each
property.
About each other? Okay.
Yep. It's on a corner.
What kind of dog is this?
It's a boxer pit bull mix.
Questions, anything? Questions, anything?
No questions, but concerns, obviously.
Then I would like
A lot
to
of
bring the Mrs. Johnson up to ask her a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
We've heard your complaint, we've heard his defense. My question to you is, what would you like to see for action?
I want to make sure the dog doesn't go after anybody in the area, okay, in the area. The dog did get loose, I'm not sure when, recently, since she came back, and went into the person's yard across the street, which is in Holyoke, but it's a neighbor that we know. And he's the gentleman that I had called the police because he had come out when I was waiting. And he was going to come out, and I believe we told him not to come out because the dog was going to bite him. That's what he told us. Yeah, that's what Mr. Hitu said. Okay, so I don't know. I was not there, okay? But I know that people have been upset, and they're afraid. And I'm just afraid. I have small grandkids. And it's one thing to go after an adult, my age, but to go after a little kid, they don't, and I don't know where there's a guarantee. I don't know how you can guarantee that the dogs, and I've noticed since that incident, you don't leave the house until after I have taken the kids down. His car is at the house every morning when I bring the kids down, so that the dog, I haven't had a problem since that day. But I'm not sure how you can promise that the dog's never going to do that. So that's my biggest thing. I just want to keep people safe. I don't want to hurt the dog. I don't want to hurt anybody, but I just want to keep people safe on Friar Road. I do.
I have a quick question. When the dog's tied up outside, can he reach? You said you didn't want to walk by. Like, does his leash allow him to go out to the edge of the road?
No, but what he does is, he's on the leash and he lunges and he pulls on the leash. And I'm afraid that he's going to break the leash because he is a strong dog. Or she is a strong dog. She's a very strong dog. So that's what I'm afraid of. I don't know that that leash is secure enough to keep that dog in control. I don't know.
Okay.
And that's a fear. That's the only thing. Okay.
Would you like to have a moment at the podium before we discuss this?
I mean, I'd be more willing, like I said, you know, to get rid of the dog. I just don't want the dog to go to a kill shelter. My children are very attached to the dog. Now, you know, I can't say, you know what I mean, I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 10-year-old that have never had an issue with the dog. I can't say, you know, for a fact that, you know what I mean, that the dog will, you know, never hurt anybody, just like, you know, nobody would know, like, was, you know, the Las Vegas shooter was going to do what he did. I mean, no, we don't know that. I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, you know. I can say, you know, beyond my belief that I'm more than, you know, I believe the dog will never hurt any children. I mean, he doesn't mean to hurt people. He just fast movements, and when somebody gets a little, like, you know, nervous or something, you move fast, so the dog reacts to that. Now, as I stated, I mean, I'd hate to get rid of the dog, but I love my neighbors, and I don't want any of my neighbors to feel uncomfortable in their neighborhood. So I will do the best of my ability to find a place for the dog so that everybody feels comfortable. That's all I got.
Well, this board's going to deliberate now. Thank you.
Just one little rebuttal. You said you don't think the dog's going to hurt anybody, but May, June, and September, it went after 3 people that we know about. So it may have gone after more. So I think that's a pattern of aggressiveness. So
I mean,
I would say the dog's going to go after more people.
if we'd like them to euthanize them, whatever it takes
I don't want you to
make
euthanize
everybody,
it, but
to make everybody happy. That's
yeah.
all I got.
Okay. Now, the next part of this is we discuss this and try to come down with a conclusion as to where to go. If you want me to take the lead, what I'm seeing is we need to issue a confinement order that the dog is confined on the owner's property, and that we order the owner to take and have an insurance policy of not less than $100,000 for any liability, because the dog's already been off the property and has already, we'll say, threatened individuals, and that pattern appears to be increasing. I'm not looking at euthanizing the dog, but I think those are the 2 orders this board should be issuing.
Or I think as an alternative, as he suggested, find him a home somewhere where he can run and stay away from people.
If he does that and the dog's not in town,
Yeah.
it's a moot point with us.
So what kind of time frame are we looking at for one or the other?
I would say confine the dog on the premises immediate.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance is 30 days. They give him time to get a policy.
Or proof that he relocated the
The
dog?
dog's been relocated.
That sound like something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard the motion.
I think all the incidents involve the dog being loose, obviously. I mean, even though it's scary to go by and have it be pulling on a leash, it hasn't broken the leash. I think all of them involve the dog being loose, so I just think that you have to have a secure way of the dog staying on property.
You might want a secondary gate or something within your house, because if children are going outside, leaving the door open, maybe that would help.
Luckily,
Find a little
they
bit.
don't let their collar for the dog, so the dog can't leave the property.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of options you can do to try to confine it
Right.
to your property,
But you'd still need to get that insurance policy if you keep the
Yeah.
dog.
but I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, insurance, I mean, it's not a big deal, I have insurance and everything, I know, so.
Okay, so you're gonna have to produce that, show it to us.
Give it to the town administrator, a copy of it.
Well, once we vote, if we.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So
I need to hear a motion.
I'll make the motion, either one of those two options.
The motion is that he will confine the dog to the premise.
Immediately,
Immediately.
and either obtain an insurance policy, a liability insurance policy for a minimum of $100,000, or relocate the dog to another location outside of town within 30 days.
With proof
Right, he has to show us proof either
to
way.
the town administrator.
Yeah.
I hear a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Hearing's
If you could
closed.
keep us informed. Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to take stuff out of order because of the fact of someone that needs to leave. Would Vicky Morrow of the search committee approach the podium, please?
Hi.
Hi, raise your left hand.
No swearing.
Swear at me again.
I am Vicky Morrow. I live on Pomeroy Meadow Road. I'm the town accountant, but I am here today as the chair of the Town Administrator Search Committee. We have completed our task, and that we are bringing forth 4 candidates for the Select Board to interview. I have a packet for each of you that has a letter from the Collins Center for Public Management, who we work with, Mary. She was wonderful during this process. And it just gives you some suggestions about your interview process and kind of how to move forward with that, plus the attached resumes for all 4 candidates.
Thank you.
And they're in alphabetical order too, so no one's, So I would say that the process was very smooth. We had a very good group. We all worked really well together. We didn't necessarily always agree, but we were open to people's opinions and discussing why we liked or didn't like a specific candidate. We met with candidates 2 weeks ago, and we boiled it down to these particular 4. They all have various backgrounds in different types of management settings. Some have municipal experience, some have nonprofit experience, but we felt these were the best candidates to move forward. So in your packet, the first candidate is Mary John Adams, MJ. Currently, she works in the Community Development Administrator's office in Greenfield. The next candidate is Stephen Boudreau, who currently is the Administrative Coordinator in Petersham, Mass. The next candidate is Edward Gibson, who is currently a town administrator in the town of Beckett. He was the mayor of West Springfield. He was their very first mayor back in 2000. And then the last candidate is Robert Parent. He currently is not working, but he was the superintendent of public works in East Long Meadow, and he was their very first acting town manager when they changed their charter to go from a town administrator
Yeah, it's on the
to a
packet.
town manager.
Keep-
They're
very
double-sided.
Double-sided, Jim.
They're
last
stapled,
page.
each resume is stapled
Oh, I see
together.
the letter from you.
Keep going,
Okay.
keep going, keep going.
There we go, got it, way
You
back.
There's no letter from me.
No,
Name's right there,
My
Charlie
name's on
Kinnicky.
everything. Doesn't mean I applied for the job.
Just Charlie Kinnicky, chair, applying for the job.
so, we went through the original resumes as a group and decided who we wanted to move forward for interviews with our particular committee. And then once we interviewed those particular people, we sat around and had a discussion of who we thought would best fit our community with their experience and with the personality and the conversation that we had with those people when we were interviewing them. So now, I guess it's up to you guys.
Thank you.
My suggestion would be to come up with a list of questions ahead of time. We can probably pass it to Mary from the Collins Institute to kind of come up with, what you guys are looking for. One of the things we found out when we came up with our list of questions for the candidates was you don't want to ask questions where it actually leads them to the answer that you want from them, where you ask them a more or less a generic question to get them to tell you something versus leading them to an answer. So that, she definitely helped us with that in terms of, when we came up with our questions, it was, well, how come the question's not worded the same? But then when she talked about it, you're like, oh, now I can see where that would lead them to answer kind of how we wanted them to answer. So that would be my only suggestion. So, and I guess the other thing would be to do them kind of in a row,
Consecutive?
Yeah, but do them all in 1 week. Don't do one week, do one each week or whatever, because it gets, that's tough too when you have 4, but just think about, I'm just, the advice that she gave us, I'm just kind of
Sounds like
giving
another
to you
pizza
guys.
night.
How many applicants were interviewed?
6.
6. I thought that charge said that to present 3 candidates. Was that what, I'm just curious, if it was hard to sort out that, all of them?
I'd have to go back and look at the charge.
Curious. Back and forth on that a lot. I think it was,
I thought it was 3 myself.
yeah.
Let's ask the follow-up question is, were these unanimous of the committee or majority? Or
Yes.
majority?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, in the end, they were all favorable when we first decided who we were going to move forward. They were all in that favorable category.
So of those 2, there wasn't a big consensus that one of those 2 should have come up. These were
No.
the 4 that rose to the top.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with an extra one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me
It's a
either.
moot point then if they were all,
Yeah, they all definitely bring their strengths, which one of those strengths for all 4 of them is management of people experience, which I think is kind of important.
They're all reasonably local.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like them. Good.
Did you get a lot of applications of people outside the area?
2. Some people were willing to move, which we didn't ask them up front. They gave that to us before we even said anything. So we did get the sense, some of them came right out and said, I'm going to be here for 5 years. This is kind of where I want to be. This is where, my next step is. They're not using it to move here and go someplace else, so.
Did you say how many total applicants you got?
12,
12, okay. And that's what was passed along to you?
correct, which was all of
Collins would have
them.
had a lot more, oh, it was, okay.
That was all of them. That was all of them, so.
Okay.
Are we agreed on November 9th?
We
No.
haven't even discussed it.
Yeah, because that came up as being a day not good for somebody. I forget who.
November 9th, I am supposed to be in the Berkshires. But I guess I can cancel my Berkshire thing if it's gonna make it work.
Well, if not, we can do it some other time. If it's something important, don't cancel it.
I'll be out of town 7 to 8. I could do 6 or 9.
And 6 for me is out.
And
I'm available all week.
6 for me is out. I'm in Boston on the 6th, and things have been good when I go to
Well,
Boston, so I don't wanna change
I
that.
have to pick up a child who's at soccer practice, and it's kind of dark outside,
Well,
so.
how about the next week?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we're,
Next, the next week.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
very
the
much. And
Committee
your
for us,
committee,
please.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we decided we're gonna do a book club after, because we all got along so well.
Yeah, that was, I
That's
was
a
getting
good
that.
thing.
Nobody would tell me what's going on, but everybody's telling me they're having a great time.
Yeah, it was a great committee. We all worked very well together, so we all had differences, brought different experiences to the table and what we particularly wanted in a candidate.
But that's
so-
why the committee was diverse.
Yeah, it was good.
Great.
And Mary was wonderful. She was great.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
all right, guys,
where I am if you have any questions.
let's do the 9th. I'll cancel my thing.
You sure?
Well, I mean, we gotta do
Or
it.
the
and
13th?
13th.
Well, it's either, the 13th I can do, and then after that, I'm gone for that period of time for conferences.
Are we gonna do them all in one night, or are we gonna do it in 2 days? What's your pleasure?
Yeah,
I'll
4
tell
and
you
1.
what I'd like, if you want what I'd like. Normally, nobody asks me that. Well, we do it the 9th, and then on the 13th, we finalize it.
That'd be great.
That would be the way I'd go if I was gonna do it.
Sure.
I'm all for that.
Let's talk about it. That's
Just
4.
Vicky left, I was just curious if they had any, are they all readily available, or are there some like, months out where they have to give notice and all that?
But they only do that if we hire them.
Yeah, this is an interview, that's
This
all.
is just the interview.
Okay.
Yeah, it's-
It's not like, you hire.
Right,
and they
so
go
we hire them there, so
tomorrow.
they may start, we don't know, it may not be this year.
I think at this point, they're all aware that it's public.
Yeah,
Yeah. If not, they will be.
yeah,
So let's talk about it. We're going to have an hour each with each candidate. We're going to have 15 minutes in between.
yeah.
So you're talking 5 hours. No
That's
matter
right.
when you start, you're going to be knocking on 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to be the guy that's sitting there at 9 o'clock for the interview. That doesn't make sense.
Well, how early in the day can you start?
It boils down to me, huh?
It does.
Yeah, pretty much.
You wanted to know.
We could start at 9 in the morning.
Yeah,
You know-
we'll be fine.
I can't start that early, but I
You
can
know,
definitely.
it's okay to feel a little important, right?
Yeah, we're all-
Do you want to start at 3 o'clock?
Yeah,
I have no problem.
I'd be glad
with
to take a couple hours off and,
all right.
I could do
3
3.
o'clock
yeah.
on the 9th.
Three,
Go
four,
three,
3,
take
4, 5,
a-
6?
30-minute break.
We're going to need a break in between for some.
That's
some-
Okay, or thereabouts.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
If you can do that, John, that'd be great.
Get the pizza or be here early?
No, be here early.
Oh, okay.
So
I would
maybe
be
we
happy
should
to.
assign hours or times for each person, so they're not all sitting there
Yeah.
for 5 or 6 hours.
I would take it alphabetically,
That makes it,
Well, can I just say
last
something
name alphabetical.
on that? We have one gentleman that is from, I think, Barry or Petersham, which is an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, courtesy to him, not put him in the last, because he's got more trouble going back. The other ones were Easthampton or something, you know. I just think it would be nice to give that concession.
His last name begins with a B. Now, last time I studied the alphabet, if we go in alphabetical
So
order.
if you do that, that's fine.
But
He always wants to be right.
thought I said
Both
this.
right.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Okay, that's fine with me. So can Bob set up times with these folks? 3, 4, 15, and so on?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start at 3, and we're going to do alphabetical.
Yeah.
and do 2 and then a break and then 2 more.
Okay, and we're looking at a half an hour?
An hour.
45 minutes for the interviews, 15 minutes for break discussion.
3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Can I mean, this is an important position. Can we schedule an hour for each person and have a 15-minute break in between? I mean, why
Yeah,
rush
we start at
through them?
3, sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is somebody that hopefully is going to take the town forward.
Well,
So,
if we're involved in this interview and there's questions that aren't answered, it may take an hour and a half. I'm not gonna.
yeah,
stop
I want to give enough, give enough time in
Right.
between.
The other part to this is,
Enough
Yeah.
time, yeah.
We also have to coordinate questions.
if we do these interviews, chances are we're gonna bring it down to 2.
Right.
And then do another set of interviews.
Right.
So that's why I'm thinking that Monday,
Mm-hmm,
we could finish this off,
mm-hmm.
the 13th.
Bring them back or select the final 2?
Select the final 2 on the 9th. Tell those 2 that you're the finalists, and then bring them back the 13th for a final interview.
I don't know, I thought maybe we would narrow it down to 2 on Monday.
Yeah. I mean,
What,
I don't know, I'd like to think about it. I think once we get the interview,
yeah.
you wanna make the call that night?
On
Again,
2 of them, yeah.
Bob's not going anywhere on the 9th or the 13th or the 15th. Why push it? Why don't we talk on the 13th, then we can schedule. If you're gone for a week, or so, that's fine.
You can decide what
We'll wait till you come back. I mean, it's important enough we're all here and we have time to
Okay.
discuss it. Does it sound reasonable? 9th and the 13th, and we narrow it down to 2 and come back after that.
All right,
That's fine.
Okay.
sure.
We
We'll
also
see how,
have, we also have to have a coordinated.
When are you gonna start on the 13th?
I don't know, 4 o'clock? No, we're gonna do it 4, right?
Not on the 13th, that's just
It
us
doesn't
getting
have to-
together.
If there's no interviews, it doesn't have to be.
13th, just us.
Yeah, so
Yes.
5 o'clock?
Well,
No
5:30.
interviews on the 13th?
We're gonna discuss
get
it.
out-
I mean,
you're
we're
gonna
gonna.
be
Oh, I see, so you want,
But
okay,
if you
I'm
want at
sorry.
5:30,
The
I'm-
9th is the interviews, the 13th is just us.
Yes.
So,
No.
so
No, whatever's good for you, Mark.
anytime afternoon on Monday is fine with me.
Well, we could make that 6 o'clock. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no,
yeah, I
it's
mean,
just us. and
We're not
just
having
gonna
any
talk about
interviews,
this.
so I
Alright.
think we should just do 6.
Okay.
And then if we final 2 at that point, and then we schedule the next round of interviews, I don't know, whenever your schedule's available, try.
All right, well, the rest of that week is filled up, then it gets,
So we go to the next
then
week.
it opens up again, then there's this thing called Thanksgiving.
So, it sounds good.
Yeah.
So the follow-up meeting on the 13th is just a follow-up meeting from the interviews?
Yeah.
To decide the 2 finalists?
Mm-hmm.
And is there a plan to have coordinated questions to be asked of all
I
applicants?
was going to contact the Collins Center and
Okay.
ask for a template of what they have. I mean, the good thing is all 4 of us have done interviews,
Mhm.
so we pretty much have a handle on this. So I just figured I'd ask the Collins Center for a template of interview questions and then go from there. And I'll just share it with you guys and,
If you don't have any, if they don't have any, let me know. I've been doing some interviews for
yeah, I mean, you know.
What did you say,
higher
Jim?
level managers at work, so I can bring them in
Okay.
and share them. But if they have some, that's
So-
great.
You're gonna put these questions together, or are we gonna, should we meet just prior
I'm
to
gonna ask the
15 minutes?
Collins
and nail that
Center
down?
for questions.
Hmm.
I'm gonna email them to you so you all have them. And then John will pull what he's got from his Human Resource Division. And then what'll happen is when we go to meet, we'll go over those questions and decide what questions we're gonna ask.
There you go.
So that they get asked the same questions
Right.
by all of us, okay.
So give us 30 minutes prior to the first interview, I
Well,
would
Yeah.
say.
why can't we go back and forth by email? That's not a board decision, is it? Is that a
No.
violation
We're
of?
making a decision of what questions we're gonna ask,
Yeah,
and I don't
I would
wanna
say.
open up Pandora's box.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't
So half
wanna-
an hour before the interviews, we meet?
Yeah, give
So
us
we
30
meet at-
minutes, so
Okay.
we start at 3:30 for the first person.
So first interview's at 4, we meet at 3:30.
No, we're starting at 3. First interview is at 3:30.
Okay.
This is
3
the
o'clock.
13th, you're starting at 3:30.
Yeah.
The 9th,
The
We're
9th,
starting at 3,
Oh, the
first,
night you're starting at 3, first interview at 3:30.
correct.
there we go.
6 o'clock on the 13th.
6 o'clock on the 13th, you're bringing the pizza.
Yeah, seriously, half-hour break in between the second and the third. 'cause
Yeah.
that's- Okay.
That should work out good.
Perfect.
All right.
Now, we're doing this in public, so the other applicants could be sitting out in the audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Watching it on TV,
Or watching on
they
TV.
could.
so they'll have all the questions ahead of time.
Ah, interesting, interesting. Public interviews, yeah.
It's the way it is.
Could we delay the recording? Or, no, we can't. I'm just trying to think, because the other ones are gonna hear all the questions. Well, they record it, but then air it later, is what I'm saying. But you're gonna have all the questions to the other.
I understand
That
that.
doesn't
I
seem-
can't, we have to live by the rules. We don't make the rules.
So you're saying instead of live streaming it, just
Live
record it
streaming.
and put it up later?
And just ask them not to be in the room, please, for the other.
We'll do that.
And
Can you
who
do
is,
that?
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, don't go live with it.
Record and then air it at 8 o'clock or.
Right, that's all.
I'm not even gonna get into the middle of that one.
It's open meeting, and
Yeah.
typically, people are given questions beforehand anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe, let's back up then. Do we then figure out the questions beforehand, even if we meet for an hour some other time, send the questions to the applicants?
Why not?
I don't care. Don't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, another way we could do it is the questions all go out to us and we each pick 2 questions.
yeah.
I submit my 2, you submit your 2, and we end up with 8 questions. I mean,
Only if
We could end
Bob
up with
does
2
it.
questions, Jim.
Only if Bob what?
Bob sends out the email to you, and you respond directly to Bob.
right, then we could have it ahead of time, have the questions, and each of us pick 2 questions.
Well, the thing is, though, if we each pick the same 2 questions, what happens?
Well, Bob says that one's taken already.
You forfeit.
Again, I'm going to back up. This is too important to,
I know.
so why don't we meet for an hour at a time beforehand, go over the questions, get them settled, send them out to the applicants. You know, I don't want to be doing this a year down the road again. So the 9th is when we're meeting with the folks. Who's not available on the 7th or 8th? Is that you,
I'm
Warren?
out of town on the 7th and 8th.
Okay.
How about the 2nd?
I'm gone in the daytime, but I should be here in the evening.
I'm here.
Just an hour meeting, right?
Yeah.
Right. So Thursday,
Either 5:30 or 6?
Can you do 5:30? Oh,
I can do 5:30.
Thursday I can't. I can do 6.
6.
6, Jim,
Thursday, what day?
it's the 2nd.
The 2nd? Fine.
6.
Select Board,
Questions, finalize the questions,
yep.
and then they can be sent out to the applicants?
Yeah. We can
Okay.
email them out.
So you're saying just give them the questions ahead of time so everybody's on fair playing ground?
Yep.
Because if
Right.
the first person doesn't know that, I'm just trying to be fair.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
just makes
no.
sense.
Good.
The argument's well taken. Okay,
Cool.
And then the 13th, we'll do that. That sounds good.
So we'll just start at 3 then on the 9th
Yes.
so ju,
with the interviews.
Yes.
so just to be sure,
So.
November
We've got
2nd,
3 now.
Maybe having half.
We're
hour
having
get
a
together
select-
and talk might not be
November
bad.
2nd, we're having a select board meeting solely to take and finalize the questions, and then we're going to distribute those questions to the interviewees. And then on November 9th, starting at 3 o'clock, we're going to be doing the interviews. And then on November 13th, the select board's meeting at 6 o'clock to have our discussion and decision on those interviews as to how we're going to reduce the applicants and redo the interviews or whatever else comes out of that.
I'd still on the 9th like to keep the first one at 3:30 because we're going to come in, the meeting starts at 3 o'clock. This person's time starts, we got to get all set up, ready to go. That person's going to lose 5 or 10 minutes because the next one's coming at 4:15. So you mind doing it? So 3 to 3:30, we'll have time to talk if we need to and prepare.
So, yeah, I have no problem with that. But that's
Okay
up
with
to
that?
Bob to send the notices out, that's
Okay,
all.
so we're
I'm
back to
good.
3:30?
Bob, did you get that?
I did, so we're gonna sit down at 3, but we're gonna bring the first candidate in at 3:30.
Yeah,
Right.
that way if he wants to come in, or she, I forget, a few minutes early and just relax, they're all set to go.
All
Okay.
right, then the next one would be 4:45, probably. So we got an hour, 15-minute break, 4:45.
Yeah. 6,
Yeah.
yeah, break.
Well, no, 6 would be the, well, the 4:45, 5:45 would be the break.
Yeah,
Or a 30-minute break or
Oh, right,
15-minute
yeah.
break, and then we continue on.
6.
Yeah.
All three
Okay.
of these meetings are open public meetings. Is there any point where the public will either ask a question or make a comment?
No.
No.
It's not a public interview, it's a private interview of us.
A
But the-
public interview, but a private meeting.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason the public can't approach one of us on the side, you know, and ask things prior to or after.
yeah. Or even give comments on the side.
Right, if
yeah.
somebody had a very important comment that they think it's worthwhile for us to have, send it to the chair and
Yeah.
you look at it, and if it's
Go from-
if
I'll
it's something
share,
important-
I'll share it unless it's really stupid. You know,
Right, I
I
mean,
just wanted to
somebody may have
clarify
something
that,
good.
that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And the other reason doing the interview, all those interviews together, and then having basically 4 days going by before we have our discussion, is to allow the public to come to us and say, by the way, I saw this or I think that. so that when we come back to meet, we actually have public input that went to us. You know, I mean, take for instance Tammy, she's not inhibited sending me an email telling me about something. It's like, you know. Yes, Barbara?
I had one question. Was a salary range presented to all the candidates so that we're not in the situation where you decide on a particular candidate and then they say, sorry, that's not enough money?
It is my understanding that they were presented with the salary when it was posted as a job.
Yeah, it was actually posted.
So
Yeah.
we would expect that if they are selected as the prime candidate, that they will accept within that salary.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing I suspect will be negotiated will be vacation time, stuff like that.
Thank you.
That's my suspicion anyways, but it was posted.
But, you know, she's got a good point, because I'm doing some interviews now for a director's position. It's not for the university, it's for a board I'm on. And one person applied, very good qualifications, and we had a salary range of this. So, and then I did a little research on him, and I knew his salary was higher, and I says, why are you interested in this position if the salary is lower? He says, well, I figured I'd negotiate higher once I got down to the final. I went, okay, that's not good. I mean, from his point, it's a good negotiating point, no fault there, but, you know, that kind of eliminated going forward. So we can ask the question, here's the salary range, are you, you know, is it acceptable to you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a good point, Barb.
Do you think it would be worthwhile seeing the questions that were already asked from the committee?
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
Should
I
we
think
see
so.
those? I haven't seen those questions. Maybe we should, just to see what kind of questions they were asking them.
Bob, would you mind
Get the
asking
questions.
Vicki, just get the questions?
Yeah.
That way we're not duplicating things.
And I'm wondering if maybe one of those questions will pertain to the salary, that's all.
Okay, ready to move on? Appointments, Sharon Hart, 13 Belanger Road, to the Capital Committee. My understanding is Tim has resigned, and there is a seat open. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Sharon Hart to the Capital Committee.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it for discussion. I'm assuming she applied to actually go on the committee.
Yes.
Her paperwork was in last month's packet.
Okay.
They didn't put it back in this one.
All right, and we
We're
weren't
conf-
sure that there was a
We
vacancy.
weren't sure there was a vacancy because there was
That's
nothing
right, with-
formal.
With Tim Huber, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I remember now.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, okay. Reappointment, Paul Frugel,
Fergal, yeah.
how do you pronounce it?
Fergal.
Fergo, as an alternate commissioner to Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. I'm assuming he applied. Do I hear a motion?
I'm trying to go off memory at the last planning board meeting. We had a discussion about this, and now I cannot recall whether Paul Fergal was going to continue or Paul Demon was going to continue. Did you get a current,
He's asking for a reappointment.
yeah, did they call you since last, 2 weeks ago?
No.
So okay, I'm just saying, we had discussion about it. For some reason, I'm recalling Paul Demon was going to take it, but
Well,
I'm not 100% positive now that I see this.
I don't have any communication from Mr. Demon or the planning board.
I can make a quick phone call if you would like, just to confirm that. It's just, I thought we had somebody else there.
make your call.
Well, it's not,
So are
it's
you
not
rep-
critical, yeah.
Can I just ask, are you representing this appointment or endorsing this appointment? I'm just wondering, we've asked for paperwork for all appointments, and we haven't gotten anything, so I just want to be consistent.
This is a member from the planning board that is elected or appointed to that position. And I believe Paul Fergal was there, and I'm just want to confirm that we didn't change it. I thought we had discussion about somebody else, so if I could make a phone call, I could confirm that.
So it would be in the PVPC minutes that he requested to be reappointed.
No, it would be in the.
Planning board.
It would be in the planning board
Planning
minutes,
board,
which,
okay.
this was at our last meeting, and I don't think we approved those yet.
'Cause
So
you're right.
he's a representative of the planning board, and there's a member of the planning board who is a member of this particular committee, so he's the alternate
Yeah.
commissioner to there. So that's something that we have to appoint him to be the alternate, and the
Correct.
planning board is backing this particular
Correct, we had a vote, I just cannot recall
Okay.
who we voted. So, let me just see if, sorry about
I
that.
just think we should have paperwork too, because we've asked for paperwork for other appointments, and I didn't see anything.
Typically, we do reappointments. There isn't any paperwork.
But this came up with the Council of Aging, and we sort of stood behind what our recommendation was on that, so I just don't want to be contrary to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
An email or something from Mr. Fergal would be
The
good.
next item,
Yeah.
those are the letters that you
Just
want.
requesting appointment.
Oh,
Isn't there paperwork that's supposed to be
Good. I
filled
just pulled
in?
them out too, so that works.
What?
I just pulled them out.
Maybe we
Oh,
should
those are the
delay it
originals.
until,
Those
I get the originals?
but you're right,
No,
gotta be
I gave you the
consistent.
originals.
Okay.
Belda.
Belda is watching.
Come after you.
I know. There's one thing good about this going on live broadcast. Velda keeps an eye to see where the paper moved to. I didn't expect him to run out of the room.
Oh, you didn't want to make a call here. Do you want to go on to the next thing that's non-controversial? So-
I have something that if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
I received a message today from Brittany Gudermuth, who is resigning from the Conservation Commission.
Right, I saw that.
Doesn't have the time. Is going to ask the Conservation Commission at their October 23rd meeting to appoint her as an associate member. That's their prerogative.
And do they have such members now?
I don't know if they have them now, but
They do have the slots for him.
under the, the state regulations, they can appoint an associate member. Oftentimes they do because it's a very complicated position. And so you have a chance to sort of learn as an associate and maybe get moved up to full membership.
Gotcha.
My memory was right. We voted Paul Deman, the chairman of the planning board, is going to take that, and Paul Fergal is going to be the alternate. But
Right.
I'm not sure if we approve an alternate, or do we just do the main
We're
person?
we're not going to do anything at this point until we get some paperwork.
That's fine. So he'll send you a letter,
Okay,
do it the next meeting.
okay. So this is tabled for now.
Yep.
All right. Next is reports. Let's talk about East Street Bridge. We've done very well with this project. There is still monies that have to be sought to take and do this. We still have to do engineering work. There's still some design stuff that goes forward. And there's still, even with that $1 million that the town received, there's still going to be some shortfalls that we have to manage with some other monies that come in through Mass Highway. So I'm going to give you all a little update here. We will be contacting MassWorks staff members to discuss the specific program requirements and next steps in order to finalize the grant. Lieutenant Governor Plummo will be in Southampton to see the project on October 6th, and our engineering design engineers are now aware of this grant, so things are starting to move forward. East Street Road construction, seeing that plays into this, engineers will continue design work in a phased approach. The first phase will be from Route 10 to College Highway to Strong Road intersection. This will need to be discussed at Mass DOT whether or not some of the design expectations grant to the original project are still allowed, because there was some waivers given about sidewalk requirements and that. Then that project sat for a while, so some of that stuff has to be updated to see if it's going to follow the current. Bear in mind, at this point in time, there's no money on the table to do this. We are still doing our design work. Glendale Road, between College Highway and Pomeroy Meadow. The engineering work is 100% design ready. They have submitted this to Mass DOT for their final review. Once that review comes back, which we expect will be we'll say in a month or so, the next phase is going to be approaching residents for easements. That's already funded, that design's done. That'll be the next project where you're gonna see the board getting actively involved in that. With that, I want to bring up the fact that we had 3 individuals that supported the East Street Bridge project that need to be recognized. One of them is Senator Donald Hummerson. The other one is State Representative Peter Cocott. And the final one is Mr. Jay Ash, who's the Secretary from the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. I took the liberty of having letters drafted thanking them for supporting our town, and I would like to have a vote to send these letters acknowledging their work.
Yeah, I read them. I'll make the motion. We send them out.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done deal. I'm going to sign them now, and I'm going to hand them to Bob. If Velda, if you're paying any attention to what I'm doing.
And thanks to you, Jim and Randall, for representing us at the State House. Although I must say the senator, the governor, and the representative made you two look pretty small.
We went to see big government. That's what we went to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was noticeable.
I had to stand on the steps, 2 of them,
Yeah.
just to be eye level with some people.
I was standing on a step just behind Governor Baker, and he was still this much taller than me.
Yeah.
But the town of Southampton did very well that day. And I want to thank everybody for working on that, including Randall Kemp, the highway superintendent. That This
Absolutely.
was a real team effort.
Yeah, it's going to be a great thing for East Street and the town.
And now, the town administrator's report.
Okay, thank you. Main work that I'm involved with now is completing the requirements and the application for Green Communities certification. All materials have to be in to the regional office in Springfield by the 31st of the month. We have worked with the UMass Energy Initiative. We've also worked with a company that is subcontracted by Eversource to come and do an energy audit here. And thirdly, we are working with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission that has a grant to assist communities in preparing their application. So I'm basically conveying a lot of documents down to the PVPC office to be put together in our application. The one remaining piece that needs to be completed, and it's fairly complicated, is the energy reduction plan. We are required, when we get the certification, to commit to reducing energy consumption town-wide, that is to say, town government-wide, during a 5-year period. And we have to document how we're going to do that. What I've put into the plan so far is about 80% completed. I'm waiting, frankly, for the Eversource contractor to give me their information on electricity use in our town buildings, which I should receive in the next couple of days. And I'll incorporate that, and the plan will be ready. In general, we think we can meet the standard in a number of different ways. First of all, in this building, very importantly, there's a portion of the building that is not insulated, and maybe a third. And we would move immediately to seek grant money from the Green Communities program in order to finish the insulation of the top floor of the building and save considerable energy in so doing. Secondly, we have the front doors project, which whether we fund it locally or whether we seek a grant. We probably should fund it locally because it'll take some time to get grant money for it. it will count towards energy conservation in this building. And also changing out the lighting. As you can see, we haven't gone very far with LED lighting here, and we think we can make significant gains there. Also, some of the windows, even though they look nice and relatively new, they're loose, and we need to tighten up. We need to tighten up windows in certain places where we have very obvious air infiltration. And so I think in this building we can make progress in those ways. I think, very importantly, with the town is approaching a decision on the future of the police department and the fire department. As I understand it, there's two options: either to do one public safety complex, which would be new, modern, and energy efficient and tight, which would certainly save energy versus the two very old buildings that are now being used for police and fire services. Or secondly, if we don't go forward with a single public safety complex, the approach would be to do two separate buildings, one of which would be the old town hall, the current police station, and tighten that building up considerably. The windows are loose, the lighting is poor, insulation is not good. There's a lot that can be done at the police station to conserve energy. As the police chief informed me, among the very important items, we have several lights that are on 24/7, 365, and they are not LED lights. The light to the rear entrance of the building and also in the parking lot are on all the time. And they're powerful lights. They consume a lot of energy, and they need to be changed. Eversource has said they will change out our lighting and substitute LED lighting as soon as we get the certification for green communities. So this is a pending project. It's going to happen. We need to get the certification, and then Eversource will go forward. Also, the police department sign itself, it's not on all night, but it's on certainly all day and well into the night. And so there's considerable savings over there if it's continued use as a police department with investments on energy conservation and, in general, renovation. And secondly, what will happen with the fire department? This building over here is not energy efficient by any means. If the decision is to do a separate fire station, chances are it would be a new station, which would again be modern and energy efficient. And so those are the most important places the most important initiatives that will go into my report. It was recommended that the town over the next 5 years purchase the streetlights. We have over 600, and there's very significant energy savings available if the town purchases the streetlights and changes out the lighting to LED. Eversource can be cajoled into doing it, but it takes a long time, and chances are you won't see much in the way of activity for several years. By purchasing the streetlights and changing it out, there is very significant savings available to the town. And so I will put that into the report as well. There are other ways that we can save money, not particularly on the vehicle side. You know, the selectmen did endorse a policy in 2016 to require the purchase of fuel-efficient vehicles. Unfortunately, the vehicles that we're talking about for most of the town are police vehicles and highway department vehicles. All but 3 of the highway department vehicles are diesels. And the 3 trucks are gasoline vehicles. I don't see much in the way of savings there. Hybrid vehicles don't make sense for the highway department. And obviously they don't make sense for the police department. The savings will occur over a period of years, as both departments change out older vehicles that are fuel inefficient for newer vehicles that are more efficient. For example, the Crown Victoria, the Crown Vic V8s that we still have, I think there are 3 of them, no, 2 remain, need to be changed out. They're highly inefficient. The new Interceptors that they're buying are going to save certainly a significant amount of fuel. And so the savings comes as the town purchases new vehicles. We don't expect that highly fuel-efficient vehicles will be appropriate for those 2 departments. At the Highway Department, there's also not much that can be done to save on fuel. They have 10 bays, and during the normal day, those bays are open, they're up and down, and air comes in, cold air comes in the wintertime. They could switch the heating system from oil to natural gas. That would save money for the town, but it's unlikely to save on energy. You're going to have to consume energy to keep that building warm, given the nature of the activity there, in and out constantly and so forth. At the library, we have certainly changed out the HVAC system. That will count in our favor as well as a fuel-efficient step. I mean, those are the main buildings of the town, and we need to achieve 20% savings over 5 years. It is attainable, and I think we can convince the state that our program is a good one. There's one other requirement. As I said, we have 2 weeks to complete this plan. I've got it about 80% complete. I expect to have it finished in a couple of days and ready for submission. I don't think anything will be a surprise there, but it has to be endorsed by the Board of Selectmen. And the choice would be to have another meeting or to vote to authorize the chair to sign it on behalf of the board after you look it over. Certainly I would give it to you, look it over. You can suggest other changes. And if we get to the point where the select board more or less agrees with the proposal and the program, then we'll submit it.
Bob, can I ask a question? The front door, I think, wasn't that a warrant for the last town meeting and it was passed over?
Yes.
No,
Not
We
the,
didn't.
not the front door?
no.
Okay,
It's on this one.
It's coming up on this one.
okay,
We had talked about it last time,
okay, all right, and it was decided to be removed
but we needed
last
some
time.
numbers and so forth, so
Right,
it didn't
right.
quite get to the January.
Is that a
Community
community preservation?
Yeah.
Okay,
Community
all right.
preservation.
Does the, this green communities, does that include, is it just mostly infrastructure and equipment? Does it also include the amount of money we spend on postage and copying? No, it's
No.
just.
It's energy, I think.
It's just,
It's
as
just
long-
the
if it's
energy,
energy
yeah.
oriented, certainly postage doesn't count. Well, you could argue maybe that the machines we have for copying consume energy.
No, but
but I
it's
don't know
not
that
counted,
there's-
it's just
there are
energy, it's
any
not,
more
you know,
efficient
green,
machines.
okay,
No.
But I was wondering,
It's
the-
gasoline, diesel, electricity,
okay. So more like
and natural gas.
infrastructure type things, okay.
now I was wondering, does this include the school?
yes,
And maybe LED lighting up there? I mean,
yes.
that
Oh,
might,
yes.
I didn't hear.
That is the biggest, I didn't mention the school.
Yeah.
I asked the school, the North School, if they have a separate plan of their own. They do not, but the consultant who is preparing the report for Eversource has recommendations for the Norris School too. I just omitted mentioning that. So,
Okay.
and they are the biggest consumer of energy among the buildings of the town.
So how's the board feel of just authorizing me to sign this once it's completed? That's basically getting.
To me, all this is if we have a plan in place that's gonna save 20%, it moves us to a green community, which allows us to capture it. I mean, if you have a plan that saves 20% and it meets that, I have no problem with Charlie signing it.
And by the way, you don't have to, you have to meet the 20% guideline, but you can change in midstream if there's some energy efficient option that crops up.
Right, just 20% that
You
we're,
gotta get to 20%.
Just to be certified as a green community.
Right.
No, no, you have to convince them at the end of October that you have enough projects
Yeah.
to save energy, that you will accomplish 20% savings in 5 years.
but once they approve that, we could swap out,
And once they approve it, as long as you get to the mark,
yeah.
you can make other changes.
And even the mark allows you to have further savings because you're designated as a green community.
Right.
Correct.
And it helps you get there faster because it opens the door for grants. And that's the significance of being a green community is that we'll get grants to do some of these projects that obviously are needed.
And we've been trying to wind up this certification for a while now, so I'm in favor of getting it signed off
That has
on.
been a long time coming.
Yeah,
Well, last year, it seemed like the town had done practically everything, but there was a hang-up
Solar bylaw.
with the solar bylaw. They insist that your solar bylaw provide that someone can locate in certain zoning districts a solar application on land as of right. No special permit required, in other words. And so that was the change that was made in the January special town meeting. And so Commonwealth is satisfied. Town council, by the way, has to submit a letter that they are satisfied that it's in compliance with the law. They are. I've talked to town council. Their letter is coming in the next day or so. So I think we're there as long as we can convince the Commonwealth that we'll get to the 20% reduction.
Did you say you are including some steps at Norris?
Yes. Oh, yes. So that's
So
Then-
either I have to call a special meeting of the select board before the 31st, or you can just authorize me to sign it as long as I don't see an issue.
yeah, and we're not authorizing any costs, so it's just of signing it, submitting it, so.
Yeah.
no cost.
I'll make the motion that the chair can sign it after he reviews it and feels comfortable with it, to send it off.
I'll
Second.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Speaking of costs, the board asked me to assess the legal costs for open meeting law complaints. Since January, there have been 3 complaints against the board for alleged open meeting law violations. In all 3 cases, the Attorney General decided that there was no violation. And request was for how much are we spending to defend this. Town council said that they have spent approximately 12 hours on these complaints, and that the cost till now is $2,160. I've been involved with the so-called TIF working group. The board said that, and town council recommended that the way we handle this project, because we have we don't have a full board and we have some conflicts, that I form a working group to review the proposed TIF and to make a recommendation to the town meeting. We are on track. We've had 2 meetings. We will make a recommendation to the town meeting. The action by the Board of Selectmen is not necessary on this. It goes directly to town meeting where it will be discussed. Now, open meeting law. I did distribute to you some of the changes in the open meeting law that took effect on first week of this month. And I think the most important ones are that you can now post on the website, as opposed to the old requirement where you had to actual post. In one instance, you had to post in an area where residents could see the agenda 24 hours a day, meaning that most communities had to do a sign on the exterior of the building, which would be lighted So if you really wanted to come at 3 o'clock in the morning and find out what this Board of Selectmen will be doing, you could do so. Now they're going to allow the posting on the town website, and there are some requirements there that if the website goes down, loses power and so forth, that it has to be fixed within 6 hours. Also, the posting of minutes has changed. Minutes have to be posted within 30 days. Those are the main changes. I think what's important here is that we need to have training for town employees. I've arranged with town council to have a training for all department heads as well as members of boards and committees on November 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is a service that town council provides without charge. In fact, they will provide a series of trainings in key laws that we have to abide by. And so I think this will be the first in a series that will bring them here to update town officials on what's required of them in a whole variety of circumstances. This will be the open meeting law training. I've already invited the boards and committee chairs whose emails that I have. We're going to make sure that everyone gets the invitation. It'll be here in this room since we expect a larger group. It'll be at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, the 8th of November.
You did say it was going to be taped, right?
And it'll be taped. Yes, we will record it.
Bob, I think just one clarification on the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
You said within 30 days. It says here, within 30 days or the
3 minutes, 3 meetings.
or the three meetings, whichever's longer.
Yeah.
So it could go beyond 30 days.
Yes,
It's
yes.
the 3 meeting.
Yeah.
That's all.
What I liked is the remote participation part. You can participate remotely now.
Yes. Yes.
Which should be very helpful.
Yes.
You're in Alaska.
Okay, I've already announced to you Beverly Goodermuth resignation from the Conservation Commission. I think that's it. We have Board of Selectmen meetings scheduled, regular meetings scheduled for November the 7th and the 21st.
Greenway
Greenway.
Committee. Resignation.
Oh. I don't have that.
I have talked to you this afternoon about the fact that I was informed that Matt Christie was.
Oh, Matt
stepping-
Christie, yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
And that means that the committee, that is the negotiating committee, cannot function as one individual.
Yeah. So we need appointments.
The thought was to take and close that committee down, the negotiating committee, and roll it right into the Greenway committee, the core committee
Right,
back.
right.
And then I was supposed to say, I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I'm chair, so it hits me before it hits anybody else.
All right, so what we need then is a motion to do that.
So you want to roll the negotiating committee into the full committee and take those members
Full
and put them?
Greenway Committee.
Okay, because I'm on the negotiating committee, which I'm fine with rolling into the,
Well, Matt stepped down today,
right, okay.
that leaves you and Mike.
And are we gonna, does that leave a vacancy on the committee, Greenway Committee?
Well, yes, it probably
Because
does.
Matt was on that as well,
Yeah.
so we still
But
have an
I need to-
opening.
I have to excuse myself.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm the only one that got the information because being chair, they contacted me instead of Bob.
Correct. And he did talk to me today about it. It didn't imprint because I'm preoccupied with Greenway, green communities.
I know, I could see that. Too much green here.
So is that something that's in writing?
Not at this point. I've asked them to send an email and
Okay.
send it to Bob, but that hasn't happened either. But the board needs to know what's going on.
But regardless of whether his resignation is in writing, we can still combine, or go back to the main committee. And then, once we get the email of the
Can I
resignation.
excuse myself from this for a few minutes, just so that you guys can talk, because I'm not,
You assign the chairmanship over to
John's chair.
John's chair.
How's that? That's
So
fine.
we would ask for a motion to close down the negotiating group and fold the member into
Okay, so the two members on there are
two.
Mike Bueller.
And Matt Christie.
Well, Matt resigned, I believe.
Well, yeah, well, those were the, well,
Well, I'm on it. I'm on the negotiating committee. So it'd be Mike and I rolling on to the Greenway Committee from the negotiating committee. I mean, I'll be glad to make the motion that we roll Mike and myself from the negotiating committee, close that down, put us on the full Greenway Committee, if that's appropriate.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
So are you making a motion that the committees are combining, or that certain people are moving into a different committee?
Well, we end up with, we're getting rid of the negotiating committee because the negotiation's all done.
Okay.
It's just up to the Greenway Committee to follow through and make sure that everything goes through with the inspections and everything.
So can you just be clear about what the motion is then?
Motion is that we're going to, what's the word I want to use on the
Dissolve.
dissolve the negotiating committee. Well, let's just do that. Let's just make that one motion.
Yeah, so just clarify this, the negotiating committee members are also on the Greenway Committee, correct?
I am not on the Greenway Committee, no. I just went on the negotiating committee specifically for that because of my background in contracting.
So if we dissolve the negotiating committee,
Yeah.
you're out of the picture at this point.
At this point.
Until we have a formal resignation,
Right.
then we can, if you're interested, we could put you in there.
So let's, if we
Okay.
can I'll back out my motion, if you back out your second.
I'll back it out.
Okay, so new motion is we're going to dissolve the Greenway Negotiating Committee, period. Do we need a second? Okay. And the reason it is that we don't need it anymore because it's already taken care of. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so how do we get, Bob, how do we get another person on the Greenway Negotiating Committee? Is there a application or,
Negotiating committee.
No, the
I
Greenway
mean, the
Committee.
Greenway Committee, I'm
Greenway
sorry.
Committee, yeah, we have applications right
Okay, so-
outside the office,
Can you send me one? I'll fill it
Selectman's
out.
office. We can, I can get one for you tonight,
Okay,
so.
we'll do that.
After this.
I'll officially submit it and it'll go through the process.
Okay.
We don't want to do anything different for a select board member. Okay, Charlie?
Okay, are we done?
Can I just back up? Are we done with the Greenway discussion?
Yep.
Can I just go back to the dates that you gave? So the select board meeting on the 7th and the 21st, is that already posted?
They're not posted yet. I did have a question mark.
Because we have the
Originally, but I took
2nd,
it
the
out.
9th, and the 13th. I just won't be here, so long as there's a quorum, that's fine.
Okay. Charlie has not confirmed these dates,
Okay.
so that's why I was looking there to see if we want to confirm the
Okay.
Why don't we go
7th
back
and the
in?
21st, yeah.
We're all done with the Greenway, right?
We are.
Charlie, we're all set.
How'd I do?
You got elected to 3 more committees.
Have I? Am I in conflict with something?
Always.
Yeah, so the issues for a decision are we going to have selectmen's meetings regular meetings on the 7th and the 21st? And will the special town meeting be December 5th?
So I already have something on the 14th for a select board meeting. So if that's the case, we'd have them on the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st. And that's fine if we
Yeah, I
have,
had the 14th, but not the 7th.
right, that's what we're just adding.
'Cause 2 weeks from today is Halloween night.
Right, I have the 7th,
We could dress.
13,
yeah, and I guess the 21st.
21st. We're a busy committee.
I am not around the week of the 14th.
Okay. I will not, I'll be out of town the 7th and 8th. So long as there is a quorum, I won't be able to make that particular meeting.
Okay.
Unless
So-
we want to make one of the other 2nd, 9th, or 13th a regular meeting.
Well, the 9th is gonna be all.
I mean, not the
short.
9th, the 2nd or the 13th.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna do anything on the 9th except that.
I'm around on the 7th. Charlie, are you and John?
I'm
7th, I'm around.
around.
All right.
So we can have a.
So nothing on the
quorum.
14th, or there's still one on the 14th?
I'm not around the 14th.
Are you around the 14th?
Yep.
You're around the 14th? So why don't we keep them on the calendar and see if we need them as we go forward.
So you want to do the 14th also?
Yeah, 7th, 14th, and 21st?
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
And the 13th.
And then,
Did you say 21st also?
So we just booking every night, is
Yeah,
that what
there
we're
too.
doing?
yeah.
You should pick out the dates that you're not gonna meet.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't meet on Saturdays and Sundays.
That concludes my report, Chairman.
Well, you've caused enough damage. Let me move on to the next one.
Wow, I thought this was gonna be a short.
Old business. Driveway regulations, curb cut right-of-way, highway permit fees. As you know, this has gone to committee, it has been reviewed. They submitted their recommendation to us. We've reviewed those recommendations, we've had some discussions. The only discussion that ever seemed to come to light was the fact that should it be one curb cut or two? I had conversations with a few people on the committee, and it appears to me that if they keep it as it is with one, there's still a provision in there that allows the highway superintendent to allow two if necessary.
Correct.
This is a regulation by the Board of Selectmen. The bylaw has been adopted by town meeting. The bylaw authorizes the selectmen to adopt the regulations. So if this board so desires and makes a motion to adopt this regulation, it will be in effect.
The way we left it last time was that we were going to ask Randall to speak to it.
I've spoken to him privately about it. He would like to see one. I spoke to Mark Reed. He was pretty much like one or two was fine with him, but, you know, there is a provision to change it if we needed to.
We had two builders in here last time, and as I'm remembering, their concern was oftentimes two are needed, and if we leave it at the discretion of the highway department, there would be issues that would be, you know, one person making the decision versus the builder. I don't know how factual that is, it's just what came up.
And there is an appeal process if they disagree with the highway superintendent.
Okay?
Yeah, this Board of Selectmen is the appeal
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, I mean, I have faith in Randall, so I don't have an issue with that, but I just wanted to make sure it came up again.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what the committee, the driveway committee is recommending?
Yes.
Okay.
I just need a motion, which way you want to go.
I'm leaving this one for someone else.
Well, I'm chair, but typically I don't make motions. But I don't see any reason why we cannot accept this as written.
Yeah, I think if there's any issues, if we see some problems, we just change it. This is something that we can revisit and change if we see an issue, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Then I would make a motion to take the committee's recommendation and on the driveway regulation and
As
vote
written.
positive as written.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second it for discussion. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, the committee put a lot of effort and work into it, and it was a combination of, you know, Randall and people, builders and all that. So I think the recommendation comes from a solid background, so,
This has been over a year
yep.
on this one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we posted it on the website.
Yeah.
We have it in the town clerk's office, and we got no comments, so I would imagine, last time we had a regulation before us, this room was packed. There was a problem. I see nobody here, so I think we accomplished.
Yeah, and like you said, we can change it, or Randall can make exceptions.
Mhm.
Or people can appeal the decision.
Yeah, it'll come to us.
All in favor?
What was there, a second?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
John was the second.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, it's unanimous. So moved. Bob?
Did the motion include the fee schedules too?
Uh,
I don't think it did.
We didn't address it.
No, we
We
didn't
addressed it.
talk about that. That can be,
oh, let's add that to that.
We'll just make another motion.
yeah, we'll just,
You make a motion to accept the fee schedules as written?
yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion? They're actually lower than the surrounding communities, that's my understanding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Good catch, Bob.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Culex pepian,
What about what?
Oh, what?
mosquitoes.
Oh,
Do we have the Board of Health here?
Shelley O'Connell, Vice Chair of the Board of Health. I'm actually just here, I actually just found out about this about 10 minutes ago. Just came to our attention, I guess, earlier today. Our Health Director brought it to us minutes ago, and we just wanted to let you know that we are totally supportive, and we back the Board of Selectmen on moving forward with the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District.
Just to give the board a little background, about a year plus ago, Southampton was one of a number of communities that shared in a regional grant to do a study and to establish a actual mosquito control district in the Pioneer Valley. This is the only region of the Commonwealth that does not have a mosquito control district. What a mosquito control district does is it provides surveillance for diseases in the area, and we really have no surveillance programs that go on. You will find it in the Berkshires, you'll find it all past Worcester and heavily into the eastern part of the state. This is in its infancies. This is to establish an actual legal mosquito control district that has to be voted on by the Massachusetts Department of Agriculture. And what it does, this endorsement basically says that we as Southampton would like to participate in this. It does not mean that we're obligated to participate in it at this time. It's just an endorsement to the state saying we need to move this thing forward. Once those endorsement letters go back to this regional approach, then they go to the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture will take a formal vote and make a legal mosquito control district for this area. If this occurs, which I believe is going to occur, I happen to know that East Long Meadow just signed on today too. What'll happen is they will be putting together the groundwork to hire a director and to start setting up surveillance. That surveillance will take a number of years. That's where the trigger comes from of doing mosquito control. The surveillance is necessary to take and determine where the disease hotspots are in this region, and from there they can focus on what communities need to expand programs. But presently we do not have any public health mosquito control monitoring programs here, other than a little patchwork stuff of towns and cities that have hired private companies to do testing. So I have been actively involved in helping them in the background and would strongly endorse that Southampton sign on to this.
so there's no commitment at this point?
No.
Okay, it's just going forward.
Yep.
Okay.
The real commitment will start once they establish a district,
Which,
and then when they do that, then they're going to have to focus on dollar amounts. Right now, they're estimating anywhere from $4,500 to $7,000 per community, but a lot depends on population. So, and that's pretty open because you're looking at places like the city of Hoyoke versus, you know, the town of Southampton in size, so you're going to see all kinds of numbers floating around. The other part to this is if we had a disease outbreak of mosquitoes and federal money came down, the federal money would go to the districts to respond to this. It doesn't go to the communities. So if you don't belong to a district, you will not see those federal or state dollars to help you.
I'll make a motion that we send a letter of endorsement from Southampton for the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Didn't know I dug in the mosquitoes, did you? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to be here for the other Board of Health stuff?
What is that? I don't know what that is.
It looks like approval of job descriptions for the health agent.
The health director, I just found out about that too also.
Health agent and health director.
dog policy too, but that's not really,
I don't think that has to do with us.
I don't know, okay.
I'm all in favor for the job descriptions on the Board of Health and the health director and the health agents.
Okay,
So.
all right. I know you have another meeting
We're
going.
not even signed, you guys didn't even, I thought that was already a done deal here a long time, months ago.
I did too, until I saw it on the agenda.
I was like, what? But no.
You know, the two of us have to catch up, I can tell you.
I know.
We're obviously,
Thanks, guys.
see you later.
Okay.
Okay. Moving right along, is the town clerk here? Why, yes. We have a proposal for a new dog policy. I know you want to go
Okay.
home. I want to go home too.
I know. Okay, as you probably remember, we amended the dog bylaw at our last annual town meeting on May 16th. The AG's office approved it, and it's currently in the posting period, so it could be effective as early as December 1st. And so what I was doing was, you can scratch what you have in front of you, because I didn't like that. I did another checklist. And I was just trying to figure out the steps as to how we could enforce that. And first of all, let's see, when the Westfield Animal Control Officer come and either pick up a dog or a dog is dropped off at their facility from Southampton, before the animal is released to the owner, they have to make sure that the rabies are current, the rabies vaccination is current, the license with the town is current, and according to what we just did in May, that the owner would reimburse the town. All this prior to having the dog released to the owner. So I spoke with the manager at the Animal Control Office and spoke with her. And we definitely have some major concerns with this policy on what we were thinking. And basically, because town hall is only open from Monday to Thursday, we close at 4 on Thursday. Say if a dog is, they get a call to pick up a dog after 4 o'clock on Thursday, and they can't come to the town hall to reimburse the town or to license their dog or any of those things, then they can't pick up the dog until Monday. If Monday's a holiday, then Tuesday. So, and then we were thinking, well, you have the repeat offenders, which that probably wouldn't be so bad. But then you have, what if someone's puppy or dog just happens to get out once, and takes off, then they can't pick up that dog or until then. So we talked a lot about that, and I really have some concerns about that, and I was wondering if you could advise me as how to proceed.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What are the hours? Okay, I understand Friday, the town hall's closed. Is Westfield Animal open on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, or are they just, is it Friday the only show-stopping day here? Like, if somebody picks up a dog
Right.
Friday night, can they pick
Right.
it up on Saturday? Or are they closed?
They would take the call. They would go get the dog.
Yeah.
If they had the call, within their hours, which is like Monday through Friday, I believe, 8 to 4, it's $50 for the call. So it's been adding up, and I think this is why, we kind of went that way. And then after hours in the evening or weekends, it's $100 for a call.
Well, I understand that part. I was wondering if
So-
somebody wants to go pick their dog up, what are the hours of Westfield Animal Control?
I'm not positive on that. I don't know when that's a good
Are
question.
they open on Saturday, I guess is what I was
Yeah.
wondering. If that was the case, people can verify that they have a dog license by the certificate you give them, correct? So they could verify without having the town hall open. Could we appoint, like, what is open 24/7 in this town? And I could just think dispatch. So the police department on an off time could collect the money, and then, I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out there. It's a possibility.
I think we need to pull back from this, have a conversation with the police chief, Westfield Animal, and all the rest of that. But at this point, do nothing. Let's just sort of regroup it and see where we're going.
Yeah,
Okay?
Okay.
yeah, because like you said, if it's locked up for 4 days, not only they don't have the animal, but charges are just ringing up every day.
And then they're going to come to my office, and they're going to be really upset.
Agree with you,
And
yes.
it's like,
So the first thing we're gonna do is find out what the hours of Westfield Animal Control are, and then if we can arrange something in town here.
okay.
You want to take the lead on that one?
So can we change this, Janine? It's-
if you like.
The new bylaw is posted, and it's going to be in effect December 1st.
Okay.
Can we change the bylaw while this is being posted out there, or do we have to go back through the process again?
If we can't change the bylaw unless we go back to town meeting.
Right,
Right.
and
So
we're not going to have a town meeting.
Yeah.
This
in
posting is
between.
going to be effective December 1st, but it's
Right.
not going to be what we want, so we got to go back and change it again, which, we got a town meeting coming up,
Yeah.
Okay.
got to do it quicker.
Just for a heads up, Bob just located this. They're open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 12 to 4.
But not Thursday.
Thursday and Sunday are closed.
Oh, okay.
So that's their hours, so.
So the town clerk is going to have to close on Thursday and open
Yeah,
on
maybe you
Friday.
should take Thursdays off.
Oh,
What
this is
about
gonna
another
be-
idea?
this is gonna be interesting. Okay, let's regroup on this.
I'll
Janine,
work with you, Charlie just asked me, and we'll get together.
Okay,
Maybe we can meet with the police or dispatch, if that's a possibility. We'll come up with an idea.
okay, good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next on the agenda is approved job description for town clerk, building commissioner, health agent, and health director. Bob, I know some of these, like the treasurer and the town accountant, were pulled back for more review.
Yes.
So what's the status on the rest of these?
The rest of them are in need of signatures and approval by the Board of Selectmen.
Now, all,
Were they approved by the Personnel Policies and Procedure
Yes.
Board?
In other words, the ones that we had and the ones that remain were all sent down, or sent over to us, not
from
down,
them, yeah.
sent over to us by the Personnel Policy and Procedure Board.
so do you have the masters for these?
I do.
And where are they in our packet? She doesn't have.
Because the ones I have in front of me all say draft.
Yeah, even the ones online.
You know what?
They all say draft?
Draft.
Yep.
But if you approve, you can sign, and then I'll just remove, I'll have them remove
So we have that
the
one.
word draft from the description.
Do I hear a motion to approve these as written and submitted?
Can we just approve them one at a time? I
Yeah.
have some questions.
Sure. Pick one.
We're bypassing the town accountant, right?
Yes.
So the next one is town clerk. I'll make a motion that we approve the town clerk job description.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just for discussion, Jim, can you be involved with that, since it's a relative?
I'll second it for the record.
Okay.
Yeah. Did the clerk get that? Okay. I don't have an issue with it.
I don't either, but
I
I just
don't
want to make
either.
sure it goes
No,
through okay.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Stan?
Okay. Next one's building commissioner.
It's just a typo under confidentiality.
Correct typo. Do I hear a motion to accept?
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
On page 58 of the packet, it would be page 3 of 5 of the job description. On the first full paragraph, it says responds to life safety, that particular paragraph. People with me?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you.
It says, prepared to assume the role of incident commander as a member of the emergency management team in situations, and the situations include structural collapse, fire, or weather-related emergencies. So I'm just verifying that that is in fact true, that this person would be the incident commander in the event of a fire.
He would be the incident commander once the fire department left the scene and left the building. He becomes responsible to condemn the building under structural, and that's under life safety. Life safety is the code that the building code is established from. So that is certainly a protocol in order.
Okay, I just wanted to check into
Yeah.
that, that's all.
Yeah, I had no problem with that.
See, when they do that, basically, he's going to need to hire companies to come in and tear it down, companies to take and remove it, companies to fence in the area. The only good thing we have in Southampton, we don't have huge structures. So we
Okay.
don't get into a lot of that kind of situation.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I just want to clarify that, that's all.
It's a boilerplate statement, actually. Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Or a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Health agent. Health agent's job descriptions are established by the Board of Health. It's my understanding.
And so have they been approved by the
That,
Personnel Policies and Procedure
Yes.
Board?
Yes.
They have,
Yeah.
okay. So
No
the health
change- No
agent,
changes have been made by the Personnel Policies and Procedures Board over the job descriptions approved by the Board of Health.
Okay.
So this is like a formality for the selectmen.
I just want to say that I think that by reading this job description and the health director one, that it just underscores the confusion between the two roles. And we can just take one at a time, but the health agent reports to the health director. Is that typical? Because in the statement of duties, it says acts as an agent of the Board of Health. So is it typical that the health agent report to the health director or to the Board of Health?
I'm trying to remember how to phrase your question. You're asking if the health agent typically reports to the director.
Or the
Or
board.
the Board of Health, because
Okay.
they're an agent of the Board of Health.
All right. Both of them are agents of the Board of Health under general statutes because the agent is the one that has the authority to act as the board. The director is an internal position of administration that basically causes the agent to have to report to the director, but they also should be reporting to the board.
Well, that's what I think is confusing, because further on down, it says, basically, under the general direction of the health director and Board of Health. I just find that there's a lot of inconsistencies between these two, and it makes it difficult for accountability and other things as well.
I'm not debating that. What I'm looking at is, if you're a health director, you will have agents working under you and inspectors working under you
Okay.
in a larger community. The key here is the larger community. Okay? But you can have a number of agents working under the director. But they all have the authority of the board
So it's fine to have an agent report to a health director and the health director report to the board.
It
and
is.
not- Even though a health agent technically is an agent of the Board of Health.
That's right. They're both agents of the board. There's just an administrative position that one is
Okay.
basically supervising the other one.
So what happens, so the agent can't go directly to the Board of Health unless they feel the director is not doing something
Yeah.
appropriate?
The general statute says that any action that's taken by an agent has to be reported to the board within, I believe it's 48 hours. Rainey's correct, it gets confusing.
Yeah, it is. I understand what she's saying.
It just, when this was all put together years ago, I mean, they figured you had a board and you had an agent. Then larger cities had a director that oversaw the agents, and then the director's charge was to report to the board.
So the health agent cannot be terminated by the director because the board appoints him or her.
That's my understanding. I haven't read this thing inside out, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading.
But the
Kelly,
supervisory,
just a-
supervisory function,
Like to get- She said she was good with this.
Yeah.
She's
It is,
good.
it is a little unclear, like Rainey said.
And this is not new. This was reviewed months ago.
Right. I didn't
this
pick
is the
up on
first time I saw it, though. I mean, we just got it yesterday.
I know, and my understanding is it was here prior to you being on the board.
Oh,
It's been a while.
that. What do you think, Bob?
I think these firms, the size is that you have an agent and a board. So,
But they choose to have a director,
Correct.
and they have the authority to do that.
one job, and they kind of split it in terms of hours. And it added up to one position because there were two people.
So it's under dual, that's what you said, right?
yeah, it's just, I think it's just confusing, because it says supervision reports to the director and the Board of Health.
Right,
It just makes it confusing, I think.
especially if one doesn't
They always say an
belong.
agent as an agent of an elected board,
Right.
not to an appointed person.
But it still comes down to the fact that they're the ones that set the hiring, they're the ones that set the jobs.
Mhm.
Um,
So they basically delegate the day-to-day supervision to the health director as I read this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People can't hear you, Bob.
So, all right, so I understand that this is more typical to a larger town, and that it's not uncommon for the health agent to report to a health director in a larger town, and it's unusual that we have both. The other question I have is, it says inspects all food service establishments. It doesn't say the frequency, but I'm assuming it's covered because it could be more often than twice a year, and it still says that they have to adhere to all state and local laws, and so that doesn't have to be specified, right?
Actually, if you were to look at the 105 CMR 590 of the food code, it actually doesn't really point to twice a year anymore. It points to high potential food hazards being inspected more than twice a year, and others being inspected less than twice a year.
Okay.
Their food code is more focused on potential risk than the old, well, we're gonna do it twice a year because that's the way we used to always do it.
Okay, thank you. The last question is special requirements, certified soil evaluator, ServSafe certification, and within a date-to-be-determined MA. What does that mean?
NA, not
No, MA.
MA.
Oh, and within a date to be determined, Massachusetts registered sanitarian or academically qualified to attain the registered sanitarian designation. So,
What page is that?
that's the second last page under special requirements. Just seems like that's not a, is that,
Oh, and within a date to be determined, mass certified sanitarian or academically qualified. Yeah, that's,
and within a date to be determined, mass registered, so I'm just wondering what,
yeah.
was that just incomplete coming to us, or what do you make of that?
It sounds like they were gonna determine a date like within 60, 90, 120 days.
Right?
That's not gonna happen.
And they, well, I'm just saying, some kind of time frame that they put a placeholder in for and never took it out.
Also, I know the current agent did get served safe after having a temporary position, and is this person already certified as a soil evaluator?
No.
So is that also going to be within a certain determined date
The
as well as?
the problem with that is they have to attend classes. There's only classes twice a year. And I can tell you, because I'm actively involved in them, the classes are booked a year or so in advance, because it's not just boards of health that take the class, but all engineers, and now all engineers that deal with stormwater management. So the classes are always full. It's going to be difficult to,
I know it's not our responsibility to make sure that the person that they assigned or appointed meets all this, but it is our obligation to sign off on this job description, and it seems to me incomplete because they haven't designated what they think is a reasonable period of time.
Right, we
If
just had to
someone-
send it back to have them fill that blank, right?
Yeah.
it's fine by me. I'm just answering, I'm
Yeah.
trying to answer Rainey's questions as best
No,
I can.
no, I think you're doing a good job. I just don't have an answer to that last one. It just looks like they were going to identify a certain time period,
Right.
and
I mean,
it's-
I must be candid and say I don't see the necessity of having an RS as a health agent in a town of this size. It would be great, but I don't see the necessity.
But,
they should address that then.
but take out the word to be determined for the date.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just gonna modify that. It just, for a job description, to have that in there is a little.
Do I hear a motion to bring that back to the Board of Health for a little clarification?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is it PQB or is it Board of Health? Which one?
Board of Health.
Board of Health, okay.
That's where it started from.
Yeah. Was that a motion, Reen?
Sure, I'll make a motion to send it back to the Board of Health for clarification on special requirements.
Yeah, second.
Oh, I have questions about the health director, too.
Well, this is the health
This
agent.
is health
one.
agent.
This is
Health
the agent.
agent.
This is the agent.
Yeah.
Just before we vote, I don't know if you brought it up before, confidentiality, the word state is spelt incorrectly before public records law. Just correct that at the same time.
Okay.
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Bob, you want to make sure to catch those typos?
Yeah, what I'll do is bring back a fresh copy,
Okay.
because we'll also be bringing back librarian
Mm-hmm.
and
Building,
council.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
All right, Health Director.
Just a couple of questions. Underneath supervisory responsibility, it says reporting periodically on the achievement and status of the program objectives. I'm assuming that's to the Board of Health.
Mm-hmm.
The second line down from there determines organizational structure, operating guidelines, and work operations. Isn't that the job of the Board of Health?
They can delegate those responsibilities to the director. I feel like I'm in court.
Okay, so just another thing here. It says, if you could look under essential functions, it says responsible for supervision of and may conduct public health inspections of restaurants, food. So basically, the director's also taking the responsibility or being allowed to do what the agent does in terms of inspections, but then doesn't have the same requirements for special requirements and also physical demands. It says little or no physical demands are required to carry out the essential functions of the position. So basically, they're saying this person can do what the health agent does without the special requirements or the physical requirements of the job.
And it also has that within a date to be determined phrasing on there too, which it doesn't make sense.
Sounds to me like you want to move this one back to them again for.
Yeah.
further
Yeah, it also does,
I just think
she
if they're gonna-
recommending hiring, training, and discipline of employees. Is that her job? Or not her, the job of the health director?
If they delegate that
report
authority
to
to
her-
them.
If
So
they
they're giving-
report to the director.
They're giving, so the director can actually remove?
If they're giving that authority to
Yeah, that's
them.
what it looks like right here.
I would imagine the animal inspector or the agent can then go back to the board and ask for their ruling on it.
It doesn't say that, though.
Yeah, but the agent does report to the board as well.
No, the agent
Doesn't have
reports
to in
the
this
director.
case.
That's what I raised.
This, apparently,
But it says
what I
that the
read
agent,
is,
it says the board appoints the agent. So if the board appoints the agent, the board's got to be able to terminate the agent too. So maybe the health director gives a recommendation,
Yeah.
but I don't see that the director can terminate an
We should just-
appointed person from the board.
we should just have that clarified. They should just know what they're saying there, and if they agree.
You know, I'm curious if the two new members of that board have actually seen this when it was submitted a number of months ago.
It'd be
I
worth,
think we should send them back as both of those together, just have them give it their blessing if they gotta make the few changes,
Okay.
and then come back to us, I
If
think.
they can also address if the responsibilities are going to be to carry out many of the functions of the agent, they should also have the special requirements, and also it should be specified in the physical, because I would hate to have someone sign a job description saying that they're able and willing to do an agent job, and then not be told what the physical limitations are, because I think that's asking for trouble on
yeah,
our part.
and I don't know if they can do this, but under special requirements, again, it says state licensed registered sanitarian or academically qualified to take and pass the registered sanitarian examination. Normally, that says within X amount of months.
Yeah.
So I think that should be there. I may be academically qualified, but if I never take it, I never have the certification.
You know what I find curious also, there's no mention of certified health officers. That's a whole layer of
Yeah.
exams, and also,
Yeah.
you know, there are two ways that could go.
So it sounds like it needs some more work on it.
You're right, maybe the new board can take a look at it and be a little bit more distinctive.
Do I hear a motion to submit this back to the Board of Health?
I'll make a motion to send it back to the Board of Health for review.
Yeah,
Second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
I just want to point out specifically the points we saw, then they can review the whole thing in total, but
And Bob, did you get some crib notes that we talked about?
I do.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved, unanimous. All right. Surplus property? Did you actually have time to put that together? Uh-oh. Did you get that other truck that was behind the highway garage?
No.
Well, that's okay. We'll do this anyways, at least get these going.
Okay. I didn't get a message on a truck behind a highway garage.
There's an old, I call it a Baker truck. It had fire plates on it. I brought the fire chief out there. He had no idea that there was a truck out there with fire plates on it. But that's okay. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons we're getting surplus properties, because things are scattered throughout the town. We pulled the plates off of it, so he has the plates. And it was supposed to go around back and get back to you to tell you about it. But you know what? This is in front of us. We need to get this moving. Has this been reviewed by council?
Yes.
So this is all ready to go. What we have here is basically more projects to clean up. We have a 1972 Maxim fire engine that's considered surplus, an aluminum truck cap, which is behind the fire station, a 1,000-gallon poly water tank behind the fire station. The last two are really something to look at. By providing these items to the public and conditions outlined below, the town is not required to expend any town resources or funds to secure removal of these items from town property. The 1972 Maximum Fire Truck will be by sealed bid submitted to the town administrator no later than October 31st at 10 a.m. The bid award will be at the next scheduled select board meeting. All other items will be available at the rear of the fire station on a first-come, first-served basis. Everything is as is, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read this whole thing. And if after 60 days of the vote these items are not removed, the fire chief is instructed to dispose of them as waste material. Any questions?
Nope, I'll make a motion that we accept the written procedures for disposition of the tangible supplies valued at less than $10,000 pursuant to general law as stated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's
Just have to
unanimous?
change the date on the signature page.
Yeah, it's actually the
You should
17th.
put after, on the 72 Maxim, that should be like, runs great, like new condition.
Yes.
Only driven on Sundays.
Charlie, did you get the pickup truck that's next to the Lima Road station that's under the brush?
And is Charlie even aware of it? No. I
Is
w-
that the one where you got the plates? Where
No.
did you-
No, the one I got the plates off of was behind the highway garage by the salt shed.
No, this
Is that a pickup
is
truck?
on Lima Road.
No, I haven't even,
It's behind the, it's behind?
It's beside, but it's kind of thrown over.
Is it a town vehicle?
It's our brush truck.
Fire truck.
no, it's not the brush truck. It just looks like it. Well, Barbara, right now, they're missing 2 Crown Vics and an old truck behind the salt shed. Now you're telling me there's another one
Yeah.
down by the highway, by the old fire station.
Saw it today.
I believe you. I believe you. It's like the one that was by the salt shed. Nobody knew about that until I drove the fire chief out there and said, see, got fire plates on it. We're trying to clean,
I don't
The
know
old
if it got plates or not. I didn't get out from there.
but you're still missing 2 Crown Vics. You're missing a truck behind the highway garage, and it looks like you're missing another one down at the old fire station.
Yeah, that,
So,
it begs the question, how do we have a vehicle with plates on it that somebody doesn't know is there? Is it registered,
no.
insured, nothing?
Well, we had a list of all the insured vehicles with the plates and stuff, and we were
Right.
supposed to have gone through all those lists about a year ago.
Correct.
To verify that. I can't definitively say that it happened, but I can tell you that when I brought the fire chief out there, he was not aware that that was out there. But in fairness to him, none of his guys parked that out there. It's like the truck she's talking about, that's probably sat there for 20 years.
But if it's registered and insured, that means we're paying money.
Yes.
So we're paying money for something we have no idea where it is and who has it, and nobody has control over that?
The,
What's wrong with
that
it?
list went through last year, and they were supposed to, all the department heads were supposed to verify that.
But that list would say, I mean, if this is a fire vehicle, that list would say you have such and such vehicles with plates. If you're going down saying, don't know where this one is,
Go find it.
either go find it or unregister it, uninsured, so we're
Right.
not paying.
But I'm not saying it is registered.
Right, it could have been just parked there and the plates never,
So normally you have to
10,
turn
15 years
plates
ago.
in, yeah.
I got stacks of farm plates at the barn.
Yeah.
Well, those are farm plates.
Farm plate, fire
just wanna
plate.
make sure we don't
The
have-
reality is plates don't normally always get returned.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not insuring vehicles that we're not using and we're wasting money.
Okay, your point's taken, John. I'm just
Okay.
saying that.
Okay.
I can't sit here and give you a definitive answer.
Okay.
This procedure doesn't say where any funds that derive from this go.
General fund.
General funds.
General funds, yeah.
and,
Good word, though, drive.
Huh?
Good word, drive.
Yeah.
no. I'm just curious, what else is, no, the Maxim is in the Bleemer Road Station?
Yeah.
And what else is in the Bleemer Road Station?
I don't know, I haven't been there in a while.
There's another truck, big truck.
You want to take a ride sometime?
Yeah, I didn't know if that's gonna make the list, if it's used or not used, that's all.
I'm trying to find the kind of vehicles that Barbara's been pointing out. That's
I'll
what
go
I'm
for a
trying
ride.
to find. We'll go for a ride sometime? All right. You got a Halligan tool?
Let's go.
Okay, we're all set. We can break in.
You do know this is being recorded, Charlie.
You don't have to break in, you can look in the window.
See? All right, so we voted this, so you want to sign this one so that we're all set?
We're good, yeah.
And we'll add the other vehicles
To another list,
next meeting.
yeah.
Wow.
We're cleaning up the town, one junk after another. I'm telling you. Energy reduction plan, Bob, I think you covered that.
Through that.
Policy for use of the town hall meeting rooms. Oh,
I
yes.
just passed that out for your review and maybe discussion next meeting.
Can you have that posted on the town website, please?
Okay. Well, there might be some overkill here. I wanted to make sure, I know we don't have many outside groups that want to use the town hall facility. But I thought as long as we're going to come up with some guidelines, that we would have some guidelines for nonprofits, other groups in the community that may want to use it. I understand the Boy Scouts at one time used it, but there's not much activity from other groups. So I'll have this posted and
It'll just allow the residents time to comment on it in case there's something we're missing.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Bob, does this include the discussion that came up recently about the
Toenails?
senior center wanted to use some rooms here? Does
Yes.
that include that?
yes. They get it assigns first priority for municipal departments, but it also sets up basically a clearinghouse type situation. If you want to use a room, you'd have to come to the selectman's office and clear it with the administrator.
Okay, so that's going to be posted on the web, and we're going to move forward with that. Next issue is traffic control regulations. Everybody that's watching this, pay attention, because this is going to be giving the police department authority to write tickets in certain areas that you may not be accustomed to. I don't know how to phrase that. But it's a simpler way of doing it for the town and the police department that becomes better than using state law, which is like using a sledgehammer to take and try to explain to somebody that they violated the law. This is a much more friendlier approach if a ticket is considered friendly. This is the first reading of this. Could you, first of all, town council's vetted, this is all set.
Yeah.
And this can be done by the selectmen by a vote. Doesn't require town meeting. And this encompasses motor vehicles such as parking, handicap parking, illegal parking, towing, removal. Did I miss anything?
Parking on the sidewalk, parking on crosswalks, and fire lanes.
And fire lanes. Bob, would you post this also on the web? Then we'll have this for next selectmen's meeting for probably a vote.
Could I ask questions, or should I wait till next time?
No, you can.
I have two questions. The first is, one of the regulations talks about, the beginning, it says, number 3 on page, well, it's 82 of ours, but it's the second page of the regulations. It's a prohibited operation, following too closely. The driver of a vehicle shall not follow another vehicle more closely than is reasonable and prudent. There's no guidelines that has to do with yardage?
The distance requirement basically was when you went to school and you were supposed to calculate your distance in relationship to your speed by the amount of car lengths. But it becomes a judgment call of the police officer if he feels that's safe.
There's nothing in the law that says a certain, I know it is for fire and school vehicles, but it seems very gray.
It's based on speed.
Okay.
Your distance and stopping rate is based on speed. You know, one
So
car
it's
length
not
for,
typically more specific?
not to my knowledge, but I'm not an expert.
Okay.
You
that was
could
one
ask the
question.
police chief that question, he could answer better than I.
Okay.
And my guess is it doesn't happen too often.
Now, does this, will this affect people's insurance as when you,
My understanding is it won't.
that's what I was wondering, yeah.
My understanding is if you get a non-criminal ticket in the town, it doesn't affect your insurance. It's supposed to be a more friendlier way of basically encouraging somebody to obey the laws without over-penalizing, because the way the laws are with the Commonwealth, every time you get a speeding ticket or whatever, it immediately hits up being a surcharge on your insurance. This, if I remember right, doesn't make that happen.
But if I'm remembering, in addition to that, if you don't pay it, then it could go on to
Then it
become an
becomes a
offense.
criminal ticket,
Right.
and then it moves forward just like any other ticket.
So it's prudent to pay it when you get it. And that may be an incentive for people to pay it, so we will get the money that comes out of this.
Yeah, and it's all kept in-house, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
I have another question on page 4, under illegal parking. I just want to know if people know if this is new. It says, on any public way between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. from November 1st to March 31st. So it's not about snow. Is that common? I mean, if someone's having a holiday party and people are staying over, I mean, they could technically get ticketed if they park on a public way between, overnight.
Those are actually winter parking regulations.
Yeah.
Easthampton has those, for
I
instance.
just want to see if it was typical.
it is very, very
They're very
typical.
typical.
Okay, regardless of the snow, any snow policy.
It's not like the snow has to hit the ground and we have to
Right.
call a snow
Okay.
I
emergency.
mean, my experience is after there's no snow on the ground, they're not gonna bother you, but it's there in case they need to.
Okay. That's it.
Well, it doesn't say that.
Doesn't say
No,
that.
no.
And it won't.
You're reading a lot into it.
Well, only because
We're
of,
being helpful.
yeah,
It just says you can't park.
right.
Uh,
But all of these are at the discretion of the police.
Yeah, I know that.
But all tickets are at the discretion of the officer.
No, I think you're in violation if you park, but I haven't seen it enforced, say in Easthampton, unless there's snow or some issue.
Typically, it's enforced
Maybe we should
when
write
there's
that
a
in there.
problem.
Exactly, yeah.
Somebody generates a problem. They
I-
park on one side, then they park on the other side of the street. Soon that two-way lane is a one-lane way.
Yep.
And then people start getting tickets, and one blames the other one on the other side of the road for causing it.
They
Well,
might-
it says on a public way between the hours of 12 and 6 from November 1st to March 31st, period. Then the next thing says on a public way during a snow event. So why don't you just put snow event after that? I don't know, that would clarify it.
Then I guess the question is going to be going back to the town bylaws to see what the town bylaw says.
You might want to do that. I don't know, that just seems very
Okay.
open.
Rainey, would you mind asking the police chief
Not
those
at all.
questions?
Not at all.
Excellent. All right, and that's why we post this and wait until the next selectmen's
Right.
meeting to give people time to... You ready to move on to the next?
Yep.
Any other business, any other necessary business that cannot wait the October 17th meeting? It's the second time you've done this to me.
Yeah.
Today is the 17th.
Well, that's what let me see. Maybe I just didn't understand the purpose of this, that's why I'm doing
The
it over again.
the purpose of this is if we're having a meeting, and, let's say our next
Yeah,
meeting is
October
November,
17th,
our next meeting is November 7th,
Yeah, okay.
but somebody comes in
We should say
and wants to address this board with a real
Yeah.
issue, we allow them to do that even though they're not on the agenda. Like,
Put next scheduled meeting, and you never have to change it again.
Scheduled meeting, right.
we're trying to be friendly here, Bob. No?
Okay.
So, and I happen to know Mr. Sattler's sitting here and he wants to address the board, but he has to wait until October 7th.
October 7th?
October 17th. That would be today. All right, if I bring Mr. Sattler up to the podium?
Absolutely.
Good evening. My name's Arthur Sattler. I hold the dealer's license presently located at 75 Pequot Road. I'm here to request a change of address from the board from that location to 150 Middle Road in Southampton, which is my family household. There's some disputes and difficulties arising at the 75 Pequot address, which makes it not feasible to try to do anything there. That's the reason for my request to change.
Do we have any zoning regulation concerns here?
I was gonna say, you wanna transfer the auto license to your personal
Yes,
house? Can you
yes.
do that? I was gonna say, you gotta be zoned for that, right?
Have to be properly zoned. In other words, your residential, your middle road is residentially zoned.
Okay, my parents ran a business there for years, so that's why I figured we could.
Has
move
it been
there.
within 2 years? Has this been has there been anything going on there within 2 years?
No, no.
I mean, I remember your parents running the business
Right,
there.
right.
But we're talking 20-plus years
Right, it's been a
ago.
long time.
So he loses grandfather status. after
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, because Dave's auto at one point, was it?
Yes, yeah,
Years ago.
yeah.
I believe you're gonna need to go to the zoning board.
Whatever I have to do,
I believe you're gonna need to ask them for a special permit.
variance.
Yeah.
Is that license active now?
Yes.
Where it is, so you're, because there's an activity level too, if you don't use it, right, in a certain period?
Right, but
location?
it was never at 150 for the last 20 years.
No, I'm saying what location now? Could it become inactive if he doesn't do something with it?
Yeah, but I'm seeing he's gonna get to the zoning board before that happens.
Okay.
I hope.
I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We can't transfer that license until the zoning board's okay with that, so,
Okay.
We just had this issue across the,
yeah,
Highway
up
here.
here at the
Um,
farm.
and it was zoned residential village.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it.
Okay, so how do I proceed?
I would contact Bob tomorrow to get
Okay.
connected with the zoning board. You're gonna have to fill out some paperwork.
And I was at a zoning board meeting when, let me think, what facility was this? I believe it was Sattler's Package Store. Went to the zoning board because that has been dormant for over 2 years. And the zoning board said there was nothing they could do because once it was dormant for 2 years, it reverted back to residential, and that was the end of it. And they couldn't take an action on it. So I'm just telling you, I was.
So he's gonna have to file a petition to this board for us to go to the planning board to file a motion for a town meeting.
Well, that would be a zoning change. That's what, that's a,
But this
Yeah.
isn't this is different. He's got an active license that he wants to transfer, so he needs a zoning variance at his house. That's different from the package store, I think.
I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna have, you can try. I don't know if you're gonna have success there, only because of what I watched.
I understand.
I think the zoning board is
ask them
going to say
first.
that they cannot grant a special permit to operate any business in a residential district except with certain limits, like at-home type businesses. But to transfer a license to a residential district, I think they would reject because it's not permitted in residential districts. So even a special permit would not be granted. I think they're going to tell you that they can't grant a special
Yeah,
permit.
But the thing is, you need to go, and-
I mean, you can still go and talk to them.
right,
Right.
we're
Okay.
not the planning, we're not the right board.
Zoning board.
Zoning board, yeah.
Okay.
I'd give it a shot.
I really wouldn't wanna have to go to town meeting to try to change the zoning.
No, I understand that.
Just,
That's a big hurdle to get over. It's spot zoning, and I know, it's tough to do.
Well, my hands are kind of tied because of difficulties there, you know, which I think we're all aware of, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll
That,
just,
you got that there because that is industrial, I think.
yeah,
right, it
yeah,
is.
that wasn't a problem.
That's not.
That's not the
right.
problem, no. Okay, so I'll go see Bob tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, personnel change forms. Bob, you're gonna have to help me on this one here. I see a personnel change form for Lori Baker, custodian, salary.
Yes. The rules are that, first of all, it is not approved by the Personnel Policy and Procedures Board. The selectmen do have the power to go ahead with this anyway, provided that there's sufficient funding in the account. We asked the accountant to estimate the amount of funds, and she came back and said that the account would be $700 short at the end of the fiscal year. And so, given that that's the case, the selectmen can't do what's proposed here. It would have to be a transfer at the town meeting. So if town meeting will transfer an additional $700 into the account, then the selectmen will have the power to approve this increase, regardless of the recommendation of other boards.
So the question is, does this board wish to transfer money from what account?
We would have to identify an account, but I did talk with Vicki about it, and there's an accumulation of funds in the town administrator's account.
Well, I thought we couldn't transfer from accounts. We asked the question in the fire department whether we could transfer from wage lines there.
No, you can't. This would have to be done at town meeting.
Oh, okay, as long as you're saying go to the town
I
meeting,
didn't make
okay.
that clear.
Okay.
In order to accomplish this now legally, and I've talked with Charlie about putting an article on the warrant for the December 5th town meeting to make that transfer, to approve that transfer from within existing accounts to the salary account here, and then the increase, which I assume the selectmen would like to do, can be done.
I guess that's the other question. We should discuss whether we want to do it or not.
Well, that's why it's on the table tonight.
All right, can you explain, I mean, what's going on here? I think
We're trying to bring her, we're trying to give her a raise, because when we first started with her, we didn't give her the full amount of money she was asking for. We wanted to see some job performance to see if we were satisfied and where we were going with this. As you can see by the shine on the floor, she's done an excellent job of maintaining this building. We haven't seen this building in this condition in a long time. So we felt that that was where to move, and this board moved to do this, and it went to personnel. Personnel had a concern that we were giving somebody a raise, and there were discussions about union issues and so on and so forth. So we had town council review this. Town council felt there was no union issues or anything like that. She's independent because she does work part-time for the school also. So personnel wouldn't vote in favor of it, so it never got to finance. We did some checking and found out we're short about $700. In order to bring this person back to whole as to where we had basically wanted to be, we need to go to town meeting and move $700 into that account.
Well, this was discussed at the finance committee meeting last one I was at a week or two ago, and I'm not going to speak for them, but I don't think they're in favor of it either, because this is giving somebody an increase for doing an exceptional job, quote unquote, and this is going to be something that's entirely different from what we've done with other people. So why should we make an exception in this case? The school contract, we don't have to pay her the same as the school contract. Our legal folks have already said that's not an issue. She's getting paid higher than some of the other folks that we have out there. So I have concerns that we're going to give somebody a merit increase because she's doing a better job than, let me back up. She's doing the job that we think should be done. She's doing a great job doing the job we should be done, but we're comparing her against somebody who did a poor job. Just because she shines, pun intended, over that other performance, that doesn't mean a merit increase should be there. I think it means that she's doing what she should be doing and getting paid for it. So I don't think it makes sense to create a whole new process and give a merit increase, because this is just going to roll downhill quick.
Well, what was the terms of hiring her, Charlie? Was there something that if she did a good job, she was gonna be paid so much more?
That was the idea, that was the intent, was to do that.
But we can't do that, though. I mean, we have no
I'm just
contract,
asking
we
a
have no
question.
agreement.
No, we don't.
One of us can't say, I'm going to do that, and, you know, because I think we spoke too soon with her.
Okay, point taken.
That's my opinion.
I agree with John.
I need to hear a motion.
I make a motion that we deny this retroactive increase because of the reasons we just stated.
At the town hall, she's already received a
Yeah, nothing to do with the,
increase at the school.
yeah, nothing to do with that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Can I just ask the question, what are we talking per hour? What's the rate change proposed?
It's right on the form here.
Rate change
Yeah, I
would
don't
go to
have that in front of me.
16.43.
It was 15.69,
1569,
so 74 cents or something like that
Yeah,
difference.
something like that.
23. Okay, I just looking what that number was.
And this wants to make it retro back to 7/1, which is a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
That was my only question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed. I think, I was in favor of maybe going to the town meeting with it, seeing if they wanted to appropriate the money, but, opposed, but.
I'm opposed also. We got a deadlock vote, which means no action's taken.
Okay.
Moving on to the next one. Police Department. Down the road, auxiliary to part-time police officer, emergency, and also same guy, auxiliary part-time police officer. Bob, was this approved by personnel,
Yes,
finance?
yes.
Do I hear any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. No other personnel forms?
There's two of them. for
There's
the
two of
same-
them.
Two of them for John Roche.
John Roach.
Yeah.
It's the emergency and part-time.
Okay,
They were both approved by
Both approved.
PQB and finance.
all right, do I hear a motion on the second one?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any other forms that I'm missing? None?
No.
Now we get into the warrants. Okay. Sign the warrants for October 5th, 2017, PD 18-14, $49,045.34. October 5th, 2017, P 18-14, $275,526.25. October 12th, 2017, W 18-15, $119,399.03. October 19, 2017, there's a typo on that, PD 18-16, $49,977.87. And October 19, 2017, P 18-16, $277, $2,777, boy, listen, $200,077, $641.06. I'm losing it.
Yeah, the only question I have, that's 2 days from now, I guess,
Those are the warrants I signed today. The
Today, for-
paychecks get issued.
on the 19th.
Yeah,
Got it.
but I figured if I brought them in here now, got them all recorded, they'd be done.
Yep.
And I got tongue-tied.
Good.
And minutes, Jim, you want to do those?
Yeah, I read them. I have no questions. September 28th, 2017?
I have a question in the first paragraph.
Yep.
It says Mr. Lawrence was not ready to make a decision. Who's that?
Okay, hold on.
I'm not sure if that was the right one.
Oh, okay.
It's on your, the public safety duties,
Was that
Ron
Mr.
Warren?
Warren?
Oh,
I thought it was Warren.
Warren.
Warren, Don
Warren.
Warren.
Don Warren.
Warren. Okay.
Good.
Yep.
So do we want to make a motion? We accept them with the correction?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Calendar, selectmen's meetings. All right. What are the selectmen's meetings now?
Yeah.
I need to look them up
I
myself.
think we have 7,
7, 14, and 21 regular.
right.
Okay. And special town meeting, December 5th. Have you spoken to the town clerk and the moderator about that?
I've spoken to the moderator about it.
And he's fine because it's and the clerk.
I said it's tentative because you haven't made
All
a
right,
decision.
but that's what we're aiming for. Okay,
He's good. She's-
all right.
Then you also want to note that, I think, the 9th and the 13th as well.
Yes, we're also meeting on the 9th and the
Are
13th.
we meeting on the 2nd also?
And we're meeting on the 2nd.
Well, we also put down a 14th. Remember, John
Yeah,
said,
We
just
got that, we got that already.
meet every day and.
We're
Yeah.
not,
Just pick out the days you're not meeting.
So we are meeting on the 2nd, the 9th, the 13th, the 14th, oh, and the 7th, and the 21st.
Correct.
For now.
You know, I like you guys, but this is getting a little. Wow. All right.
You'll have to let us know, Kathy, if that's, if you can be here.
yeah, but now we can attend remotely. Hey, Bob, speaking of which, seriously, you ever use Zoom for meetings instead of Skype?
I have not. I've used only Skype.
If we, literally, if
Use it
we,
a lot.
yeah, we use that at university, but if we had it, it's an easy application. We could plug a laptop in up there, so if people needed to meet, they'd literally be on the screen. And
Zoom.
Zoom, yeah, if you need any information, Rini or I can give it to you. But yeah, it's good.
I'm going to open this to open time for the public. Do I really need to read all this?
Nope.
No.
No, Tammy's heard it.
I thought Tammy was leaving, that's why.
No.
Nope.
Tammy Walunas, 298 College Highway. Have overheard some information, and I would like to ask you guys, when the town is sued by someone and legal action has been taken and they have won, where does that money that they get paid come from?
It all depends on what the suit is. A lot of that money comes from the town's insurance companies.
Okay, so that's not coming from our free cash area.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Did that make your day better?
Yeah, a lot
Just
better.
remember one thing, if the town does lose a lawsuit, it increases our,
Rates for insurance.
so that means the following year's budget will increase on the insurance side.
Just like car insurance.
But not proportionally.
Okay.
No.
Wow, all right. Thank you.
Oh, Tammy, how did you like, we're redoing that whole intersection up there where the trees were growing on the island. We're redoing that whole thing for
I
you.
know, if I had known they were gonna do that, I wouldn't have bugged Randall.
Like that, we went right to it.
And I don't know if we need a vote on this, but you know, they're putting the island there and they got this little walkway. I think we should name it Walunas Way.
I second that.
Oh,
It's not big enough to put the sign up, Tammy.
okay.
Did you
Any
want to
more-
say something?
Got a quick reminder. Virginia A. Hart, 27 Fulmer Road, Chair of the Community Preservation. Next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, is the open time for the public to hear our yearly report. This is something that's required by the law, and to accept any projects that people have ready at this time to look toward the annual town meeting. Projects can come from any group or an individual if it benefits the community and are within our guidelines. We'll determine that. But perhaps you people might think up some more things. And perhaps some of the people out there might be thinking, or different committees, commissions, boards. So remember that project forms are available in the town clerk's office and on our website. And we'd like to see a nice crowd with some creative projects.
What time is the meeting?
7.
7. It's in here, correct?
It's right here.
I don't know.
So what day is that?
What did Jim say?
Anyone else for open time? Barbara?
No, I turned into one vehicle.
You did good, because I didn't know it was there. Now you got me wondering what's behind the building.
I didn't go around the back.
I know, I think Jim and I are gonna take a walk around the back.
There's nobody in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that either.
Did we finish the contract with the town accountant?
Yes.
And
Done.
do we now need to formally vote to endorse that contract?
If you did not come out of session to vote, you need to do that, yes.
So I think we should do this.
Correct.
We have reviewed the town accountant's contract, and I believe now we need to take a formal vote to approve that contract. There was basically some typos in the contract. It didn't really change much substance. It's not on the agenda, it should have been.
Right.
But given the fact that it's minor corrections, do I hear a motion to accept the town accountant's contract as corrected?
So you're gonna, items that can't wait till the 17th?
That's it.
So nothing in there is going to be changed by the review that the accountant is having regarding the job description. This is
No.
the contract.
That's
No,
right.
there's no practice, no current practice will change. No current activity of the town accountant is changed. It was just that there was a
Was it a
misunderstanding, I guess, and.
Typo on.
20 hours or
Typo,
something.
yeah, 20 hours.
That's it.
Like 31 or 32.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it was, and we talked about that.
Okay.
So do I hear a motion to accept the contract as corrected? Somebody? Hearing no motion, I'm going to move into executive session.
I'll make the motion that we accept it with the minor change that was made.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved unanimously. This is a tough group. Okay.